Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our May 1st regular town council meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Yes.
Here.
Here. Here.
Present.
He'll be late. Great. Okay, also we have the privilege of having Reverend Aaron Boyer from St. Michael's Evangelical Church here to give us invocation. Welcome. If you wanted to just take a few moments to tell us about the church and what time you meet and anything, and then we'll all raise our stand to hear your invocation.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Good evening. I'm Erin Baer. I'm the rector at St. Michael's Anglican. We are a community of about 40 adults and children who worship together on Sunday mornings and love and serve and support each other and the community throughout the week. We primarily serve the Haymarket community through St. Michael's Academy, where we have about 290 pre-K through 5th graders. The preschoolers are on the Fayette Street campus. That's about 210 students, and then 90 in our K through 5 program on Washington Street. And our community are regular contributors to the Haymarket community in a variety of ways. And we're really wanting to continue to build cooperative relationships and endeavors with other churches and faith communities in the neighborhood. And I am new to the St. Michael's community. I just started about a month ago, so I'm looking forward to getting to know you and the Haymarket community, and would love for you to reach out to me if there are any ways that I can be of any support or service to you. And I'd like to invite everyone to come worship with us on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock at C. Hunter Ritchie School on Broad Run Church Road. So,
Great.
if you would please stand. Let us pray. Holy One, we give you thanks for all the blessings that we have received. Among them, a country where we are free to worship according to our consciences, and a town here where we raise our families, pursue our vocations, and nurture our passions. We pray that you would look with favor on the citizens of Haymarket, and especially on the members of the town council. Would you give them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions for the benefit of all who live and work and worship in this community. In your name and in your grace we pray. Amen.
Amen. We could continue standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everyone. Our first item up on our agenda is our citizens' time. Now, we do have some public hearings tonight. And actually, if I could just get a show of hand, if anybody's here to actually speak at the public hearings, can you just raise your hand? Okay, great. We will have another public hearing on the 15th that will open up for comments on the 15th for these exact same items as here tonight. So this is a time for citizens' time. There is a sign-up sheet if for anyone that's coming up to speak, if they could just put their name and address for clarification for citizens' time. Well, that's okay. Yeah, we'll just make sure that you actually, get your name and address for the record. And thank you. But we know.
My name is Amy Alonzi. I'm a resident on Jefferson Street, as many of your town council members know. Good evening, Mayor Lake. Good evening, Vice Mayor and town council members. I wanted to follow up this evening on my last citizen time in January in reference to the traffic safety and maintenance of Jefferson Street. Of course, John Cole has been very welcoming and helping me be part of the traffic calming and the safety issues that we're working on now. We haven't really touched on maintenance, but there are some issues that I wanted to bring up, or concerns that I wanted to bring up in reviewing what has been occurring over the months. And that's in reference to your assistance with law enforcement. And what we're seeing is last week in January, early February, Chief Lance did approach me and assist me as a resident in reference to reaching out to town council and the town manager, Kimberly, in reference to what is occurring. We did have good presence of law enforcement on Jefferson Street, but that was a repeat of what occurred back in November with our original chief of police. For about a week and a half to 2 weeks, we did have that strong presence of law enforcement on Jefferson Street that you would see possibly on Old Carolina Road. Then there it comes off and it slows down. I wanted to give you some examples, and this is just the 2-week observations of residents in seeing what is occurring on Jefferson Street. On Jefferson Street, beginning on, bear with me, this is from April 17th to May 1st today at 2 o'clock. Law enforcement has been present 6 times on Jefferson Street. The times average, when you average the times, 6.4 minutes. It's when you actually see a police officer sitting on Jefferson Street monitoring traffic. So for some of the examples, you have Tuesday, April 18th. Law enforcement is there from 7:30 to 7:41 a.m. And that was a bus stop monitor. So they actually saw the bus stop and a child picked up, because we do have those bus issues where vehicles are running the bus. Friday, April 21st, 1:36 p.m. to 1:37 p.m. It was a pullover immediately as soon as the law enforcement was there on Jefferson Street. So he was only there for a minute. It goes on to Tuesday, April 25th from 8:05 a.m. at the railroad tracks for about 15 minutes. Tuesday, April 25th, 5:50 to 5:58 p.m. Wednesday, April 26th, 6:30 to 6:37 a.m. And Monday, May 1st, from 12:57 to 1:02 p.m. Again, we cut off at 2 o'clock in observing law enforcement. With that being said, only once was a bus route monitored during that time. There have been 17 witnessed bus runs since October to present day, May 1st. Out of those 17 bus runs witnessed by residents, 2 of those were caught by law enforcement. So that's pretty high, and that's a big concern. As we come into the last 45 days of school, it would be great to see maybe a bigger presence of law enforcement for the last 45 days to make sure our children are safe. With that being said, there are 12 stops on Jefferson Street, 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening by 4 different schools. So those times were given in a previous communication to town council members and to law enforcement, so they have an idea of when they could be there. One concern did arise, and I talked to law enforcement in March. The law enforcement officer indicated that it's really hard to get to Jefferson Street because primarily their focus is Washington Street. They're busy making sure that the buses don't run on Washington Street, so Jefferson Street becomes a secondary road. So by the time they get to Jefferson Street, where we residents are considered secondary on that street. So that comment, maybe we can find a way to work with that. When law enforcement is there on Jefferson Street, traffic does slow down tremendously because there is visual. You really do see a police officer coming up or down. You really can't hide. You're open. Which brings about the decoy vehicles. There are two decoy vehicles being used on Washington Street, one by the BB&T and one near Cookies and Cream. Usually in the same place. They really don't move. That's where they're positioned at. My request or recommendation is, will town council and law enforcement consider using those decoy vehicles on Old Carolina Road and Jefferson Street, kind of spread the wealth of those vehicles. Looking at research, decoy vehicles do work, and the research was amazing when I went through that. But moving those vehicles, I think, would also be helpful, and as residents, it would also help us with the bus, the speeding that we're encountering. Give me 1 second. The next agenda that I want to speak about is in reference to the budget. In reviewing the budget and some of the details, the town of Haymarket had made comment in reference to $80,000 plus $1,000 being used for upgrade or renovation of the sidewalk on Jefferson Street. But when you read into detail of that, that's technically not Jefferson Street. It is Old Carolina Street. So it's from the new bridge to the town center. In the past, I brought up the safety issue of the sidewalk after the previous mayor's home onto Payne Lane across to Washington Street. There's really no sidewalk there, and that is a dangerous point. Why was that not considered into the budget and only stopped right at the town center? I do not want residents on Jefferson Street to be forgotten as we maintain the roads, as that is one of the concerns that we brought up in the past. And that is it. Okay. I thank you both all for your time.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I agree that we do have the presence of the decoy vehicle on Washington Street, and I'm grateful for it, but I would be happy to share it with them. I've lived in the town over 45 years, and I remember a child being hit on their bike on Jefferson Street. So it can happen, and so I have sympathy for you. I understand that. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. One is the budget. You're going to actually have a public hearing for the budget, so I should save those things for then.
If you would, please. Yes, ma'am.
I will do that. I wanted to mention that I got something in the mail talking about when the meetings are, and I'm grateful to get this because I don't do computers, so that was helpful to me. But someone dear to me got a certified letter with very lengthy details about changes that are being implemented to the ordinance. I would have loved to have gotten this too. I can discuss this now or later, but heavy things like, I don't know if you all remember that a meeting about a year ago when I said I'm not concerned, I am concerned about my use on my property. I mentioned it to our attorney, and I've been V1 since before I bought the property. It was used as residential, but it was B1. My husband was disabled until he passed away 7 years ago yesterday. And he was, we weren't able to, we wanted to have a bed and breakfast, but we couldn't do that because the town had graciously downplanned us to residential and said that a bed and breakfast could only be in residential, and no one in their right mind is going to give up B1 zoning to become residential just to make beds for somebody to visit them. It's not worth it. So it's been 17 years that I've owned the property. I do plan to develop it. There are several items in this article that was sent out to my friend, certified, that are troubling to me. We can talk about that later too. But I just want you to be thinking in terms, before that next public hearing, when we're going to be talking about that ordinance. When I was on the Planning Commission, we sat down with the old one and the new one, and we went through every piece of it to make sure, is this what we really want to say? Is it closer to this? And maybe the Planning Commission has done that. Councilman Leake, maybe, can you tell me that that did happen, that you went over the Planning Commission?
I can tell you, Ms. Leonard, that I know that they started this back almost 2 years ago. So, this process has been a long thing. But this, our citizens' time was just more to hear the comments and not really a dialogue. And I apologize for
All right, I
telling you.
understand.
Okay.
I just want to know that these things aren't going to happen that are going to affect me again. So if there was another way to reach you all, I'd be happy to do it. I don't want to do everything in public. But these are major concerns, and they're money in my pocket or out of my pocket. So it matters to me. And I wanted to just add, for those who don't know, who haven't lived here as long, the people who live on Washington Street, who bought those properties a long time ago, got them rezoned, paid to bring the water into town, or there would be no water in this town. Property owner next door that happened to be my uncle, owned Haymarket Station's land, paid $45,000 to bring the water in. He paid another $45,000 to do the stormwater drain that's behind Councilman Edwards' house. So that was $90,000 from one property owner. My property gave another 5 or 10,000. I can't remember exactly, but people contributed to the street lights, the park benches, and a lot of people made donations. Not all of those have been included on those plates, brass plates on there. I'll talk about how that relates to the budget when I have a chance to do that. But I just want you all to know why we're so sensitive, because we didn't just fall out of the sky and Haymarket became something for us. We made it happen here.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Leonard. Anybody else for citizens' time? This will be the time to come up. Now, we do have public hearings for our budget and the zoning, so if you're here for those items, we'll separately address those. So citizens' time, Mr. Tony? If you just your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Tony Giuffre. I live at 6741 Jefferson Street in downtown Haymarket. I've come here tonight to ask the city council to look into the possibility of allowing FiOS to come into town. I don't know if you've heard about that before, but I'm trying to get FiOS, and they keep telling me it's the town council's stopping it.
Yeah, I can.
If you can tell me who's stopping it, I will work on the project.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And what we'll do is we'll talk later. We'll definitely meet with
That'd be
our
great.
town manager and dispel that rumor and definitely show you where we're at in trying to get them to come back to the town. Yep. All right. Thank you.
I'm going to hang around a little while.
Good. All right. Appreciate that. Anyone else for citizens' time? All right, we'll go ahead and close that. We're going to switch our agenda up a little bit here. We're going to bring up agenda item 8A and 8E at this time. So 8A, we have our appointment of our clerk of council. And I think we have a recommendation of the wording. Sorry, I get the... Pardon me?
There's nothing in the packet. It's
Oh.
just move to appoint the clerk of council for the unexpired term, Alice Gerald.
Okay, there you go. Apologies. If anybody wants to take that on as a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint to the clerk of council for the unexpired term, Alice Jarrell.
Second.
Motion been second. Discussion on the motion? We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Just one. Yes, that's. Aye.
Yes.
All right, great. And our next item on our agenda was, as we all have been handed a letter dated today, asking for a continuance.
On the Z property.
Yeah, on the Z properties. So if there's no objection, I'm going to go ahead and put that on our June the 5th agenda. Seeing no objection, then we'll go ahead and do that then. All right. Back to our other part of our agenda here, we have our public hearings. I'm going to go ahead, if no objection, open up our public hearings for both the town code, the zoning ordinance, and also our physical budget 2017-2018 town budget. For this, if you could sign in with your name and address for the record, and yes. Okay. Apologies. We could probably just use that same sheet, just as, so that for the record, I know we've had some that. Yes, please. Yeah. Are you prepared to do your presentation first? Yeah.
We're just going to table the zoning
Part of it. Yep.
ordinance.
Yeah, well, we might have people here to speak on both behalf, so,
Okay.
yeah. But I think it would be useful if we'd go ahead and start with maybe the presentation and then hear the comments, because a lot of the questions might be answered.
Okay. You can hear comments at the same time on both items?
Yeah, not unless the attorney
that's fine.
Okay.
feels otherwise, yeah.
I just want to clarify.
No, absolutely. Okay.
All right, let me make sure this is working. Can you hear me?
Yep. And make sure we have the camera on the video as well.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight to give comments on the public hearing that we have tonight on the draft 2017-2018 budget for the town of Haymarket. What we have in the back is handouts on the proposed budget in a spreadsheet format. What I'm going to do tonight is do a brief presentation, kind of outlining some of the details of what's in that spreadsheet, what the process, what went into the budget that you'll see before you. Afterwards, tonight or tomorrow morning, we'll upload this presentation so you can have that as well if you'd like access to it.
And just for clarification, can everybody hear okay? Even in the back?
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
So here's the meeting calendar. Tonight we're here on May 1st having the public hearing. The council's had 4 budget meetings to date on the 27th of March, April 3rd, April 11th, April 17th. Later on, we're having a public hearing on the 15th on the proposed fiscal 18 tax rates, and then right now we're planning the adoption of the budget and the tax rates on the regular meeting on June 5th. So what I'm going to explain now is just a brief overview of some of the conversation and thought to date of what came into the fiscal 18 budget. As the presentation moves forward, I'm going to go into these in more detail. So this is just a highlight of what's to come later on in the presentation. That the council discussed having the public hearing on May 15th for a tax increase, maximum amount of 4 cents on the property tax rate. The conversation and what we have put into the proposed budget is a 2 cents increase. They also discussed the health insurance increase, 9.22% for the premiums that were going up for the employees. They chose option 2 of 4 different options that they discussed. What that involves is the employees picking up the increase, and there's going to be a net decrease in the overall health expenditures, actually. Allocating $80,000 from the reserve fund for the town portion of the sidewalk improvement project. That's a project that's been going on for a couple years. $80,000 is the match that the town has committed to of approximately $500,000 grant that has been allocated through the Vermont Agency of Transportation. And also $75,000 in additional funds from reserve to continue engineering work on the park. $45,000 for additional debt service for the town center project construction to happen this coming fiscal year, and support for a 5 cents increase in the retail and services B-poll tax. Still well below Prince William County at 21 cents. So that would bring the tax up to 15 cents. That does not include restaurants, just retail and services. And provide some funds for streetscape infrastructure maintenance. This is just a snapshot of where we're at and how we compare to Prince William County. Our population is increasing slightly. Median household income is substantially higher than our surrounding county that we're in, as well as education and high school graduation rates. Some of the considerations we made, we heard from folks about reducing our reliance on fund balance for operating expenses. We need to address the increases in health insurance premiums. We want to put a placeholder for additional debt service to complete our town center project. And you'll see we put up some of the elevation drawings around so you can see some of what the council's been working on the last year or two. Accommodating additional development service needs. We've seen quite an increase in development service. We've had traditionally a part-time planner, and we've noticed the need to increase, and we're going to be advertising for a full-time planner here soon. And we want to continue to have exceptional customer service. I want to just reiterate some of the town services and programs that we offer for our residents and businesses here. Public safety services. We have 24/7 police service here in the town of Haymarket, covering our residences and our businesses. That's a pretty amazing service for a small town of less than 2,000 people. We also offer planning, zoning, engineering services, economic development, and business service. We also provide trash and recycling for all of our town residents. That's included in the taxes that you pay. Building permit inspections. So you can come here to get your building permits. You don't have to drive all the way down to Prince William County. We offer that as another service, which is very helpful for our contractors. Tourism development, our historic museum, and we have exhibits, and we have an event planner that plans 4 community events a year to bring our community together. We also have a historic district, and the town has put quite a lot of infrastructure in place with street lights and brick sidewalks, maintenance, receptacles, and as well as our public parking lots. So we have quite a lot of infrastructure now to take care of. And then we also maintain the buildings and space that we own here on the town property here, as well as the new Haymarket Park. So just a little bit about the process. We started in January. Staff met with the Finance Committee over January, February, and March. We reviewed past revenues. We talked about potential future development in the coming fiscal year, potential growth. We also talked about the last few years and what monies were spent, where were they from, and how to plan for some of those future capital expenditures. We've got a little extra money in our reserves, so we talked about how we want to allocate that. So we have our fund balance down to what we have now as a policy is 30%. That may come for future discussion down the road, but right now it's at 30%. Realignment of staff, I'll talk about that a little bit later, to be more efficient in our services, save some revenues in the end, improve some efficiencies, and we're working to decrease some of our permitting timelines to be more business friendly and more predictable. And we want to continue our focus on our capital improvement goals, which include the Town Center and Haymarket Community Park right now. So goals for the budget this year, continue to invest in the community, be fiscally conservative, and review the quality and type of services we provide. And make sure we really look at infrastructure maintenance and helping our businesses be competitive with surrounding communities. We just want to show you our meals tax rate is very competitive with our neighboring towns. It's at 4% right now. It's increased steadily over time. We expect it to increase about 25% for the end of this fiscal year, up to the $600,000 mark. We expect that to hold in the next year or two. It's a substantial part of our revenues right now, about a quarter of our budget. Historically, our real estate tax rates, this just shows what it's been over the last 6 years. We've equalized it over the last 6 years, and just to do some math, we have approximately $92,000 in additional revenue if we hadn't equalized the rate over the last 6 years. How I did that math was taking the current, that assessed value, 237, 936, 941, and timesing that by 0.164, which was the rate in 2011. And then minusing the 298, which was the revenue that we brought in for this year, and that's where I came up with the 92. So projected operating revenues, this is what we're proposing right now to come in. We think the meals tax is going to hover around $600,000. That's a conservative estimate. Might bring in a little bit more, but we want to plug it in there. Gosh, can I read that? Is that
It's a little grainy.
Is it?
Ooh,
Yeah,
yes.
much better.
Let's see. Other taxes, the cigarette tax continues to go down. Under the others, local taxes that's included there in that $495,000 is the cigarette tax, the bank stock tax, sales tax receipts, and consumer utilities. Some of that we don't have a lot of control over. It's just what we receive through the county or the state. We don't have a lot of control over changing that. So like I said, we see a decrease in cigarette tax and the bank stock tax, and we have seen an increase in the meals tax around $100,000. This is, again, just in a different format of our projected operating revenue. So just to stop and talk real briefly about our current reserve fund balance. These are all the different types of accounts that the town has. So our general checking account. This is our sweep account where extra monies are deposited and then swept over to the general So we always have funds in our checking account to write out all the bills that we have that we write out each week. We have a money market account, an escrow account that has different allocations in it. It's rent deposits, bond payments, things like that, things that we're holding that we can't spend. And then we have another sweep account, which is, again, what you might call a savings account, or potentially additional revenue that could be spent for capital projects down the road. And then we have some additional savings money in our Virginia investment pool. So the grand total is around 1.5. Now, that varies a little bit with revenues and expenditures that go out month to month, so that doesn't stay the same, but that's a generally doesn't vary too far off of that unless the council allocates additional revenues off that. So taking a look, we have approximately $350,000 to $500,000 available for capital projects in future years, depending on the reserve policy that's in effect. Could potentially be used. The current town assessed properties, these are just the assessed value that the county has approximately. Of course, we own the museum across the street and the Caboose, Town Hall you're in now. Copper Cricket is what we call the building behind us. The Wholefish House is the building out that general direction where Everything for Her is located. The old post office, of course, is right out front. And then we own several of the properties out at Haymarket Community Park, including the building out there.
And of course, that is the assessed value, as you can see.
That's correct.
Anybody would love to write a check for $250,000
Yes,
and buy
exactly.
the
Not
building.
necessarily what it would sell for, but that's what the county's got.
Correct, yeah.
Right now. I'm going to go into this in more detail in some future slides, so I'm just going to breeze through this right now just to give you a quick overview. The operating expenditures proposed for 2018, you'll see administration, police department, public safety, public works. This is contracted services for your landscaping, repair work, trash services in here, community development. That's where we have planning service, engineering services, building official. A lot of that is fee-based, so that's replenished by the fees that we charge. The museum, parks, that's where also we have our events. The community park, that's a placeholder for additional engineering work next year right now. This is a grant. We've got $11,000. We paid 20% of that. The rest is a federal grant that we can finish up next year. And this is the debt service payment. That includes the $45,000 placeholder for next year to work on it. The other money is a debt service that the town's been paying on for several years, and includes the purchase of the park, I believe. That's the same budget, just in a different format for you. And like I said, I'm going to go back to it. So we're going to talk about staffing in town administration and public safety. Staff and benefits is about 45% of the budget. That includes some of the contracted assistance that we have for the building official and engineering services as well. Includes 6 officers and 5 town administration staff that qualify for benefits in the next fiscal year. So we do anticipate a slight increase in services and staffing due to the part-time contracted engineering services. We've reorganized personnel, not just on both sides, actually. We've seen some efficiencies that the new chief has put in place in public safety, and realigned some duties that the officers have. And on our end, on the town administration side, we're not hiring the administrative assistant position that we had previously, and we are reallocating some of our staff resources to hire a full-time planner position. And that's just it in the pie chart. So what you see there is salaries and then benefits on top of that. This I don't have to explain in a whole lot of detail because it looks kind of detailed here. I can explain it to you offline, but basically what we're trying to show here is what the total premium is between public safety and town administrative staff for just health insurance, what the employee portion is, which is what EE is right here, and then that right there says public safety and administration. That's kind of off the page. And this right here is the employer or the town's contribution. Over the past, it's been approximately 80-20. For the family and the 2-person plan, the employees picked up 20%. And historically, the town has picked up 100% of a single premium. We've got an increased amount of 9.22%. That's approximately $12,000 over the 17 current expenditure as of like today, and current staff we have today. So we just wanted to kind of line it all out and see how it fell and how to handle it and how to propose it to council. So on the next page, we outlined several different options that included town picking up the increase. It included the employees picking up the increase. It included, kind of a half and half model. And then what the council has recommended is option 2. And what this is by the town will save by having one less FTE and having the single employees pick up the $600 increase for the single coverage. They weren't paying anything before. Now it'll amount to about $25, $23 a paycheck. And the family, currently we don't have anyone on the 2-person option, and the families will also pick up approximately, is it 25 or 50 a month? I think it's 25. Family will pick up an additional 25 a month. Now, what that will actually mean when you do all the math is that the town will actually save $7,600. So even though we're having a 9.22 increase in premiums, the town is actually going to save $7,600 in health insurance costs this year with the proposal on the table. Capital projects and expenditures that have been budgeted into this budget is the match for the pedestrian improvement project that runs, as we heard earlier in the comments, from the bridge to Washington Street, and a debt service payment of $45,000. Right now, what is proposed is $45,000 will carry a general obligation bond of $2 million over a 20-year period at 3.5%. That's just a placeholder. If the town actually went through with the general obligation bond, hopefully we would be able to negotiate a slightly better interest rate than that. And what that proposal potentially could be is a new loan. Wouldn't be a refinance of our current debt and a new debt. It would actually be a new loan where we pay interest for 8 years, pay the principal and interest on the old loan, pay interest on this loan. The other loan would get paid off in 8 years, and then we would hit this one with principal and interest and pay it off in the remaining 13 years. It also includes an IT server for $7,000. Currently, we don't have that. I'll explain a little bit later about some of our IT expenses. So proposed guidance, some of the things that the council considered was increasing the property tax rate incrementally over time to address new and deferred maintenance needs. Currently, there in the 17 budget and previous budgets, there is no money to maintain or take care of our public infrastructure. We have a maintenance budget for the 15,000 block right here on Washington Street, which includes some basic maintenance on our buildings, none of the deferred maintenance, and no maintenance at all for street lights and curbing or bricks coming out, or we've had over 20 lights out in the last several weeks that we've been trying to repair. Increasing the B-pull rates for retail and services to be able to continue to provide excellent service to our businesses and also be able to be a little bit more competitive, yet still 7 cents, is that the right math, below what Prince William County charges for retail and services. Maintain the current meals tax rate and evaluate our current fee schedule for building and zoning permit fees. We've seen a little bit increase in our building permit fees for our contractor, so we were going to talk about how to address that. So I'll go over each of these in a little more detail. And this is basically what I just said. So to maintain the park and the town sidewalks, like I said, about a quarter of our income right now is on meals tax. So we want to continue to try to diversify that a little bit. Say one of our businesses that, contributes quite a bit pulls out, we want to make sure that we've got some other revenues that can help. We want to maintain a high level of that public safety services for our businesses. We've got a great program with our officers going out and visiting all the businesses, checking them on a regular basis, and as well as our residents. we talked a lot about the continuing to allocate. Now, we don't know, we're going to have an update tonight on the Jefferson Street project. It may or may not go to construction in the fiscal year 18, but we still want to have that placeholder, or we're going to have to bump it to 19 and have it done next summer after July 1st. And we talked a lot about do we defer, how much capital maintenance do we defer? Do we put, how much money can we budget? Can we afford to do some of these repairs, as well as the repairs on our property that we own as well? So let me just mention a little bit. This chart was in an earlier slide. Council took a look at what were the rates historically. How do we, how do we look at this issue? So we put this slide in to show some of our neighbors, some of our smaller towns that we have. Middleburg is in here. We've got some of our bigger towns, obviously. Leesburg is a little bit different there than Haymarket, but Lovettsville's in here, Percival, as well as
The town of Dumfries.
Town of Dumfries is in here. There it is. So as you can see, the town of Haymarket right here, this is where our tax rate has been. So we've been the lowest for a long time. Now, with that said, oh, you can hear me better.
Yeah.
With that said, some of our neighboring towns depend on the real estate tax more than we do. We've been very blessed to have many successful restaurants in our community that have helped support a healthy meals tax, and we are so glad that they are here. And so we've been blessed in that way. But we do have additional needs, capital improvements, and other things that we want to do. And so we talked about a 2-cent increase. Now, what would that do? So that would bump us up here. That would still make us the lowest. But let me go to the next slide and talk about how that impacts your wallet. So here we go. So what this is, just to give a couple of examples. So if you had a $250,000 assessed property, that would be, for a 2-cent increase right here, that would be an additional $50 a year. If you had a $400,000 piece of property, that would be an additional $80 a year on your town tax bill. So, and just for comparison, even if the council decided to recommend a 4-cent increase, right now they've just budgeted 2, that would still make us the second lowest town tax rate in Northern Virginia. So, being sensitive that the citizens of the town also do pay the county tax as well, minus the dumping fees on the trash. So the equalized rate, if it was equalized again this year, would be approximately 0.123. And right now it's 0.126. So we also took a look at the BPOL rate, retail and services. Currently it's 10 cents per 100 of gross receipts, which is still very well below the Prince County rate of 0.21. If a business wanted to relocate out of our town, it's likely they would go to the county and they would pay, double the rate.
So you pay one or the other?
You would pay one or the other, yeah. So some of the thought behind it is to remain a competitive business location. We've got these beautiful downtown amenities. We've got these brick sidewalks, and these beautiful streetlights, and the landscaping that we provide, and to provide that public safety services that may need to take a look at bumping that up a little bit to provide just a little bit of revenue. And I'm going to go to the next slide that looks at that. So the projected, this is just an estimate. It's hard to predict exactly what businesses will be moving in and what the projected gross receipts will be. So it's just an estimate, but we estimate approximately $29,000 in additional revenue based on retail, repair, business, and personal service. This does not include our restaurants, just those other businesses that we have. And you'll see on the spreadsheet that if you've got a copy of that, it's got a different number on it. That includes approximately, we think it would increase another $5,000 or so if there were no if there was no increase in the rate. So here I'm going to just stop on this slide for a minute. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you'll see on the spreadsheet that I didn't put a whole bunch of slides in, but I just want to mention. Looking at the town administration, which is on page 3 of the spreadsheet, taking a look at some of the changes of the budget from the 17 to the proposed 18. You'll see an increase in town accounting services over this year, and we had some transition, and we had to rely on some temp service and some extra time with our accountant that we contract with. But we see we are going to budget for the original amount that we had last year. I'm sorry, actually we were going to increase it a little bit based on the average use of the services that we've needed in the past. So that's going to go back down, even though that's been a little bit higher this year. We had to rely on some additional staff in that second quarter of fiscal year 17. And further down the line, you'll see under the computer, internet, and website services, the 17 budget included a little bit of money for, actually the website was in there. We're going to be finishing that project up in the next fiscal year. But what we've seen is that there's been some neglected IT security issues in the town. We've had to put in firewalls. We've had to beef up some of our systems, and some of the things that we've had in place, including investment in maintenance in our IT. And that's bumped that price up. It was pretty much deferred investment that we didn't put in. I think it was on your capital plan in previous years. It just kind of came to fruition faster than we thought, and we needed to put that in place this year. We've bumped the server to next year because we can get by until then, but we have put that in place. We've put other software, we've put other security measures in place, and upgraded the I also have a spreadsheet of our annual IT services. It costs almost $15,000 a year just to maintain. That doesn't include a person to help us with IT problems when something goes down. That's just to maintain our current system as it is. I don't think it was budgeted properly in previous years, and it's time for us to make sure the town's data and everything that we do is properly up to date and serviced properly. So the amount you see reflected in the budget for the proposed 18 includes this $15,000 plus approximately eight hours a month of contracted services.
And of course, most importantly, being secure.
Being secure is really essential, and so
ever-changing environment there.
Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not an IT person. Yeah, so verify control of backups, remote control software. I put some notes here. Cleaned up access, antiviral software. We got that all straightened out on all the different. We've got like 11 computers and things like that, and we got the firewalls in place. That was the most important. So I wanted to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention is, let's see if I can scroll down on this. My notes here. We're also in the middle of negotiating our waste management contract to save 8% over fiscal year 2016 prices, actually. So we're hoping to finalize that. We're very excited about that. We've also, you'll see that on the maintenance. That is on page, I don't know what page it is on that, but it's under the public works section. Right now we've budgeted $78,000 for that. And then we've also budgeted a small amount, it's just kind of a token amount of repairs, $22,000 for just some basic maintenance of our street. I don't know that's going to be enough, but we wanted to at least get something in place and get that going. The other thing I wanted to mention is we've got some cost savings in the public safety budget. We've We've have a nice arrangement to lease 5 police vehicles, and we've been able to get that into the public safety budget. So lease payment of $31,520, which is now taken out of the capital improvement budget and is put into the public safety budget. So that's cost savings there. You'll see also in the building official costs are a little bit higher, but that's based on predicted development levels. We hope that is going to be offset by some permit fees. So that's going to ebb and flow based on the development that occurs in town. Like I already mentioned about the Caboose grant funds. And then overall expenses are down 13% over last year due to reduction on reserve fund reliance. We had in fiscal year 17 $528,000 from reserve funds for various things, some of it for operating. And we've deferred some activities this fiscal year to try to get that number down. We're not doing some of the Harold Park work that we had planned this year. So we're moving over approximately $155,000 for park and sidewalk. So those are capital expenditures. There's no money moved over for operating at all, 0. So I just want to wrap up here with the last slide that you've seen before on our meeting calendar. Like I said, we're going to have another public hearing on May 15th. That's specifically for the tax rate, the property tax rate, and you can also hear comments on the B-poll rate. So with that said, tonight I understand the council can hear comments on anything about the budget. So, but just that there's another opportunity on the 15th to take additional comments on the proposed tax rates as well.
Absolutely. And probably just to clarify, too, the hearing is to hear from the citizens, to be able to hear. There might be specific questions that you might have, but at that time, please present the questions to the council, but I'll probably defer you to our town manager for the answers if it's something appropriate. But, yeah. So at this time, do we have our sign-up sheet that first person? All right. Welcome.
Hi, Rebecca Bear, 14977 Cheyenne Way. The proposed budget concerns me. Before even considering raising taxes on the residents and businesses in the town of Haymarket, every other avenue should have been explored, and it's apparent it was not. Curb spending should have occurred. It did not. Just one example, in less than 3 years, the town's on its 4th police chief, with each new chief, including an interim, rebranding the department, with the latest doing his entire fleet. As Ms. Murray said, cost savings. However, these are new items. If we need to borrow money and raise taxes, obviously we cannot afford new items. I think for the future, the town might want to consider a policy of a minimum of 12 months of employment before rebranding should be permitted with the turnover this position has had. It would only make sense. Eliminating luxury employment positions that are not required by charter should have happened. That did not. If we need to borrow money and raise taxes, we obviously cannot afford a town manager, a business community relations director, a museum director, to name a few. But what I see in the budget is that we are now strategically combining the administrative staff at the PD and town hall and eliminating a full-time position to what appears to be the exact salary of the only surviving long-term administrative employee the town has. But yet the town is still maintaining the luxury positions charter does not require. Reading news reports where it was clearly stated by current town staff that you, the council, have been using reserve funds to cover operating expenses gives great pause. And from watching past meetings and reading minutes, you were repeatedly warned by the previous staffs what the repercussions would be. So to make it simple, if you have to use the savings account to pay the electric bill, obviously you're not doing it right. The town is in this position because of the reckless spending that's been occurring since 2014. Each of you are now responsible for this. So I have an extremely reasonable solution to at least consider postponing raising taxes for a year. If you, the council, would give up your budget category for the next year. Eliminate your stipends, your travel, your conference, your education, your mileage. Eliminate your budget line item. It would cover most of the proposed increase, so the property owners do not bear the burden of the poor financial decisions that have been made. This would give you 12 months to finally instruct staff to apply for grants to offset cost to town projects. I've come to you repeatedly to remind you, we were told of numerous grants available, the town center property and the proposed park. You've chosen not to even explore these opportunities. And this would give you 12 months to reel in spending and be more fiscally responsible. So before residents and businesses have to be held responsible for what can only be described as mismanagement, I suggest you hold yourselves accountable first and explore all the other options. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Maureen Carroll, 6862 Track Court. As I look out on Washington Street from my home in Haymarket Station, I see an empty and unfinished Haymarket Community Park and an empty police car. The sight of both of these empty symbols has made me question priorities of the proposed budget for the 2017 fiscal year. $70,150 is budgeted under Parks, Rec, and Culture event for the Haymarket Community Park. The police budget totals $715,900. Somewhere in that almost $750,000 is money for the empty police car that sits on Washington Street outside the QBE building. Haymarket is a town covering 320 acres, or 1/2 square mile. It has under 2,000 residents. The $715,900 proposed for the Haymarket Police Department funds the empty police car in Washington Street. Perhaps the car is a deterrent for the first or second or third time it's seen by drivers on Washington Street. After a few times viewing the empty car, it's no longer a deterrent. It's a symbol of money that could go to support other town endeavors. For example, the Haymarket Community Park. The April 21st Bull Run Observer ran an article that stated 1,200 people texted suggestions for naming the park. The number of people who took the time to text or email or write in their proposals to name the park shows local interest and support for the park. In my imaginings, I see a park with playground area for children, simple walking trails, historic commentary signs, outdoor fitness equipment for adults, bike racks, perhaps free Wi-Fi for people to access while picnicking or walking, and making Haymarket more noticeable, offering that. All of these activities are fitness and health solutions and business-friendly solutions. They provide support for Haymarket, a walking town, in our comprehensive plan. All of these ideas are worthy of taxpayer support. I think the town council needs to look more closely at the proposed budget and rethink the priorities the monies the budget represents. I know the Haymarket Police Department has supported public safety in town, and I believe the empty car and the empty park symbolize a need to reassess and fund town priorities appropriately. Like the 1,200 people who basically suggested names for the park, my neighbors in Haymarket Station have spoken very excitedly about the proposed park across the street. I and they would like to see a fully functioning Haymarket Community Park and no empty or unused police cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. We get a twofer.
Yes, you do.
Wonderful.
Jim Carroll, 6862 Track Court, Haymarket. Your proposed budget for next year in the area of public safety amounts to nearly 28% of the total expenditures. This amount seems excessive and unnecessary. I believe that you, Mayor Leake, and some of the members of the present council, during your first campaign 3 years ago for mayor, said that you would examine the possibility of having police service through Prince William County. much as our fire and rescue service is provided through that county. These rescue services and fire services are also vitally important to the welfare of the town and are funded at a far lesser cost to the citizens of Haymarket than are the police services. I do not believe the priorities of the town of Haymarket, a town which continues to call itself a walking town, are reflected by the purchase of newer, more expensive weapons or vehicles, nor do I think the crime statistics for Haymarket justify the expense of nearly $364 for every man, woman, and child in this town. Alternative police services could be readily available through the county, and I ask you to consider them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chuck Carnahan, 6654 Hunting Path Road. Ms. Murray, thank you for your time and dedication to this. I haven't been here near as long as Ms. Dottie has, but 19 years ago, my first council meeting, they were struggling over possibly breaking a $200,000 budget. So lots of stuff has changed. Some concerns about the budget. One of the things, if you were lucky enough as I was to have a father who was savvy in some financial things, one of the things he told me as a young man, and as I ventured out and got married and started my own family, was you got to live within your means. If you've been to any Rick Edelman, if you've read any of Rick Edelman's books in the 90s, or you've been to a Dave Ramsey seminar in the 2000s, that's the first thing they talk about, is you got to live within your means. So looking at the proposed budget and sitting in on your work session a couple weeks ago, I'm hearing some things that have me concerned. When we talk about deferring maintenance, raising fees, borrowing another $2 million, raising property tax, raising the B poll, raising taxes incrementally over the next few years. All those things sound to me like we're not living within our means. We're struggling. We need to do something else. I'd like to see us go back and refine this budget some more. I think it's a great budget where we are right now, but there's a lot of deficiencies that Ms. Murray just described, and I think we need to address those. Maybe give up some of the luxuries to make that happen. One other thing, a couple weeks ago at the budget session, I think it was David, you may have said, we were talking about selling some of these buildings. I'll be your biggest cheerleader if you sell these buildings. I've been for that for 15 years. But the comment that bothered me was, we can use that money for something else. No, that money has to go to pay off the debt first. Go to an Edelman seminar, go to a Ramsey seminar, pay the debt down first. Always where that money's got to go. We can't use it to buy something else. You got to pay off. You've got a $1.63 million note still due. It's got to go towards that. And borrowing more money against these buildings, I think, is just totally ridiculous. And then lastly, we had that workshop a couple years ago where we talked about this town park. Remember that list of priorities that came out of that? Number 2, tax neutral or tax negative. We can't be borrowing money to build a park. It's got to be done with surplus funds that we have. The only way to get those surplus funds is refine this budget. So it just, it appears to me we're heading down that road that we probably don't want to go to. So I think that's where we're at. Ms. Murray, I also noticed your slide deck is quite different than the one that's posted on the web page. Will you post this one on the web page?
Yeah, I'll get it up tomorrow for you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Evening. Members of the Town Council, Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. I came in concerned and now I'm angry after watching this presentation. As most of you know, or many of you know, I've got scores of municipal, jurisdictional, school, and federal budgets under my belt, and quite frankly, this presentation is both overly simplistic and fatally flawed. 18 months ago, I stood behind this very mic, and I tendered my resignation from the Planning Commission. And I'll read you one of the closing paragraphs. In the short 16 months this council has held office, the administrative budget for the town has doubled, as has the number of employees and appointees. Similarly, the annual expenditure for legal counsel has more than doubled the town's historic high water mark. Additionally, numerous contractors have been hired at considerable expense to provide a work product of questionable value and need. The hundreds of thousands of dollars, the strategy adopted by this council has resulted in needless expenditure of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that might have been better used to further the interests of the town residents and businesses. In order to fund those expenses, the town has drawn down the substantial reserves that were in place at the time the present council took office and will prove unsustainable in the future, absent a significant increase in taxes or the tax base. Call me Nostradamus. In the interim, you've refuted my assertions, eliminated the detailed financials, forced out or terminated all institutional memory or those who warned of the impending fiscal cliff. Over the past 3 years, the town is $2.3 million upside down, actually $2.3 million plus, a total that upon analysis of this month's financials will grow again this year, largely due to operational expenses exceeding revenues, something you finally admitted in your hearing notice. Admin costs have doubled, public safety costs have doubled as well, despite extended vacancies in both and expanded consulting support. The proposed budget is more of the same, a travesty built on higher taxes, one that is inevitably unsustainable and sure to fail. Administrative and public safety costs will continue to increase logarithmically over the period. No consideration of the business impacts brought on by the 5515 improvements is built into your numbers for B-poll or meals tax. Raising the real property tax rate 35% for a 19% increase in the actual taxes is one larger than the county. The gross dollars are larger than the county's increase. The impact on a $400,000 home is not $80 as reported in the paper and included in this presentation. Do the math. It's $160. 504 versus 664. It's a real simple calculation. You then double down by raising B-poll. At a time when most jurisdictions, Stafford, for example, are eliminating it, or Prince William County is raising the threshold to eliminate those that have to pay it. If you haven't been paying attention to the General Assembly the last couple of years, B-poll is going bye-bye. It's only a matter of time. There's a growing movement, and it gains votes every year. By raising that particular tax rate, all you accomplish is enlarging the hole that you will inevitably have to fill when B-poll is eliminated by the General Assembly. At the end of the day, I ask you, you need all of this money. You need it for repairs. You need it for capital cost. Wasn't that what the slush fund, meals tax was initially instituted for? Wasn't the meals tax supposed to pay all of these expenses? It was. I know. I voted against it. I voted against it 4 years in a row. But you're certainly not spending the meals tax money on what you're supposed to be spending it on and what you sold the residents of the town. So before you decide to raise the taxes on the residents and the businesses or take out an additional $2 million because you've already spent the money that was left to you, perhaps you should first look at your own expenditures, outlandish legal bills, stipends, travel, consultants, and more consultants and unnecessary luxuries. Doing anything else is fiscally irresponsible. I couldn't do it in Crayon, but I did give you some visuals so that you can get a sense of what you're doing. And I would suggest that you consider revising this budget before you consider raising the taxes. And next year, do the rate first and then the budget as it's supposed to be done. Because quite frankly, this budget is just trash. But I'll give you some visuals to take a look at. Thank you.
And hand it to the clerk. All right, thank you. Anybody else would like to speak?
All of that is exactly why I didn't want to see this happen, because that is going to go on for the next. Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street.
Thank you,
Sorry
Dottie.
about that. I'm the one who, on my way to UVA to have surgery in an ambulance, called people to go to the polls to vote for you guys. And if they didn't have a way to the polls, I called somebody else from the ambulance and said, get these people to the polls because I think you're wonderful. But I agree with some of them. Those two were awesome. What they're telling you is the truth. What I remembered happening a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, is that we had a town manager who put up a bunch of stuff like this, telling you how you needed to compare with Prince William County and Leesburg and this one and that one and the other, and that they were staff. You are elected by us. Their staff, they make recommendations to you. You don't have to follow this. And what happened then was that you got trashed on the internet by him. Just like I said you would, because he took that and said you were told by your staff not to do that. The truth is, the staff is who recommended it, and staff is recommending it again. No one wants to see this town finished more than me. If I could do it by crawling up and down the streets, I would do it. I want to see this facade finished on this building. I want to see that park be something that she and I can, and I apologize for pointing, but
yeah, you should be addressing them.
Something that we can be proud of. I'm sorry, I'm blowing it at you, aren't I?
Yeah.
Something that we can all be proud of. I want to see it finished. And there are things that are really important. But I don't remember in my 45 years of us even planning to put brick sidewalks on Jefferson Street. We thought it was too narrow. It might be something down the road, but I don't think it's now. Finish the park, finish the facade on the building, eliminate that. We also don't need a full-time planner. I was up here many, 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 many days and watching time be wasted, wasted, wasted. And the recommendation for the full-time position came from Susanna before she left. And that was taken by staff and presented to you. We do not need a full-time planner. 2 or 3 days a week, and maybe one of the other people in the front office could organize things for the planner so that some of the paperwork and shuffling around it, the organization is done so the planner can do their job. What I saw happening was a whole lot of time being wasted getting nothing done. No deadlines being met at all. So I would like to see, oh, and I made a couple of notes here too. Approving the development that people are trying to get done would help bring more revenues in. Let's get the approvals done, for heaven's sakes. And then we won't be getting a shortage. What I don't want to happen is when all those bills go out next April and you're all up for re-election in May, God have mercy on us if something like that gets back in. So let me just say this. I'm very emotional. I apologize. I believe we pay for our building inspections, don't we? Our building inspectors' inspections. We pay
Yes.
for it. That's not provided to us. So that was another discrepancy. And one of the things that I got here was the project Jefferson Street that came in my mail says $267,000, not $80,000. So is that a mistake?
Just for clarification, Ms. Murray, you can answer that. I think that's the total project versus our contribution. Is that correct?
That's what's left on the project. We've been working on it the last couple of years. So that's what's left.
So we had takes and.
You can't do 3 projects at once. Let's do reduce it to 2, and I agree with, I hate to say it, I agree with Bob Weir that maybe we don't need to raise some of the B-pole, and I just think it's a mistake, and I want you all reelected again. That's important to me because you are doing the right things. Your hearts are in the right place, and I'm grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else for a public hearing? Seeing none, no objection, I'm going to go ahead and close our public hearing for this evening. Our next item, actually, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We're going to reconvene at 8:30. So, Alice, if I could be so kind to grab the camera there. All right, great. Our next item on our agenda is under consent items is our minutes. I will take them all or individually if we want, starting on page 143.
I move to accept the minutes for the regular meeting February 6, 2017, March 6, 2017, and March 27, 2017.
Second.
Motion on the floor and seconded by Councilwoman Edwards. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I just have a couple of typos.
Okay.
I can give the typos to the clerk of the court, so we don't hold things up, if that's okay.
Counsel? Yep.
Yes, clerk of the council, thank you. I amend my motion
To accept the typos.
Then my second.
All right. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion unanimous. Our next item is our department reports. Our town engineers. Do we have any questions regarding that? And we are on.
Can we get introduced?
Yes, can we get
Yes.
introduced to them?
Come on down, the price is right.
Yep. Oh.
We are way back there.
Hi, Katie. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm
Yep.
Katie McDaniel, and I am the new part-time engineer.
We're glad to have you on board.
Welcome.
Yep. Thanks.
I also have a quick update on the Haymarket Town Center and pedestrian improvements projects that I added to your packets this evening. Both are in the final design phase, final design stage of design. And Rinker is working on the final design for the Town Center project site improvements, and the architectural drawings are about 90% complete. The preliminary grading has identified shallow storm sewer outfalls as a restricting factor in the design, so we're actually meeting with them on Wednesday to go over that so that they can finalize the design and start preparing the construction drawings. The pedestrian improvement plan, it has gone, they've recently completed the right-of-way submission for right-of-way acquisition and are working with the private utility companies to relocate the utilities. And their next submission is going to be the final design for bid advertisement. So they are coordinating with the VDOT reviewers to ensure that the drainage reviewers have seen the preliminary design and don't have major objections before final design goes in so that it goes more smoothly.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Kate?
I do, I have a couple.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
Not to put you on the spot, perhaps Kimberly might be able to answer a couple of them. With respect to the pedestrian improvement project, I see there's the nutrient credits to be purchased for $5,600. Now, that's what we're paying because of the effluent and the outflow.
Correct.
Is this a one-time payment, or is this going to be an annual assessment?
I believe it's a one-time payment. We have a purchase and sale agreement that we're reviewing with Martin.
Okay, great, super. Then, with respect to the town center final site plan, so once that's all done, we're going to have, I know we've talked about this a number of times, we're going to have documents that are ready to go out for bid.
Correct.
And do we know what level of engineering, it'll be 100% engineered, 75% engineered?
My understanding is they should be completely 100%.
100%
And
engineered.
we're meeting on Wednesday,
Okay,
so we're going to work through all those details on Wednesday and get you a deadline.
Okay, super. All right, so then in that number, I mean, in that package, we'll have the real estimates for the project, an engineering estimate of what the cost, what they project the cost to be.
Correct, and depending on the timeline, we may have an estimator do a quick estimate now, so we don't wait a couple of months to see where we're at.
Yeah, my concern is that, you know, we'll have some numbers. We're projecting 2 million additional need if we're going to go forward with it. And I'm assuming that's a referendum, I guess we'll have to go through for obligation. No?
No.
Not at all?
There is a resolution, there's a couple times we have to come before council, but not a referendum.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. All right, so anyway, my concern is that the money that we're thinking we're going to need may not match up with the estimate provided. Now, I'm sure we can negotiate on the bid side, but I just, you know, I'm a little concerned that it may be a little bit higher given the time.
Correct, that's why we've talked about having an estimator do some estimates now very shortly, rather than waiting the next 2 months to get 100% plans to see what ballpark. We could get pretty close.
Okay, good.
And we'll let council know.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Katie? We're good. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more question. I apologize. I have a note here. We were taking a walk down here, Kimberly, down to Walmart. And of course, the sidewalk is closed now. So is there any idea when that might be open?
It's closed again, the crosswalk? Oh, the
Well, the sidewalk is closed, and essentially that means you can't use the crosswalk to get across. I'm not going to tell you how we did it. We did a little dance, but, so I'm just curious.
We'll
can we get a
contact the
sense?
project manager.
Yeah. Can we get a sense of how long that's going to be? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I
All right.
promise that's it.
Next up, our town planner report. We're on page 159 of our packet. So, Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Lee, council members. My name is Steve Geyerson. I'm your interim planner. I had a couple meetings with the ARB Planning Commission, now finally the town council. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Most of my time has been devoted to catching up and QEB site plan, talk to the aspect plan, and a number of other smaller permits, so to speak.
Yep. Okay. Questions?
Not tonight, but thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Moving along to our building official report. And we are on page 160 of our packet. Any questions that we might direct to our town manager? Last call? Oh, all right, that's fine. All right, we'll move on. Our next is our police department report. Chief Lands. Good evening, sir.
Any questions on the statistics for the month?
And we're on page 162, by the way.
All right, just to go over the points of interest. The police department had a really busy month again. We conducted a bike rodeo. Officer O'Neill and Officer Davis, who are the new bike officers. Where'd you guys go? The school? Right, and helped out at a bike rodeo. I think you guys got all the pictures for that. It was a really good event. We had a lot of kids there that learned some really good bike safety. It was our first event to get the bikes out. Also, I attended this month the Northern Virginia Chiefs meeting where we just went over several things. Terrorism is always a big thing, and just getting some advice from other chiefs. It's kind of a way for us to get together and learn things from each other. We did a business roundtable where we presented to the businesses what we as a police department do for our businesses, which is the heavy business checks that we've been doing during the day. The officers go into the business and talk to the people, and at night the officers check their doors. Saturdays and Sundays we make a point to check churches because we know they're going to be there the next day. We found lots and lots of open doors and things like that we've got a lot of good feedback on. We attended Earth Day. We had 4 officers at Earth Day at no cost to Denise's budget. I just want to make sure that we have a bigger presence at these events. I saw several council members out there working as well. It was a good day, even though it was raining. We got a lot of stuff in before the rain hit, so I thought it was a good event. We conducted our first self-defense class at QBE this month. It went great. We had a lot of participants. The ladies that were there really enjoyed the class. Officer Jake Davis was great at his instruction. He was very funny and informative. Everyone had a great time. We'd really like to thank QBE Foundation for putting that on and QBE for letting us use their building. That's just the first of many that we're going to do.
No injuries, right?
What's that?
No injuries.
We didn't have any injuries.
Good,
No,
okay.
sir. I do have a good picture of Corey almost being injured, but he was one of the kick dummies, I guess. Emphasis on the dummy. It went well. All of our officers were there, and we had a good time interacting with the community. So we look forward to doing those again. We already have Next Level Fitness has offered their building as well as QBE for any future events. We had a lot of people sign up, and a lot of people say they wanted to do the next one. So we'll continue with that. To give you a vehicle update, the vehicles go on Monday for their upfitting. They will be upfitted with all the equipment, and we are hoping that they will be in service and ready to go for the car show on the 13th of May. If not all of them, most of them should be done by then. While we're talking about vehicles, and because it was mentioned before, and some of the citizens may not know, the Ghost Car program has been going well. The car at QBE specifically has really slowed down a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of calls from people saying that it scares them when they come into town every time. I want to dispel the fact that those are empty cars. The cars that you see around town are the cars that the officers are not driving at the time. When the officer is off duty, he leaves his car here, and those cars are placed in strategic locations around the town, which is what the mayor had asked us to do. Rather than just sit here at Town Hall and do nothing, they slow cars down. Now, we will be moving them around, and we can do that, and I understand what you're saying on Jefferson Street, which is hard because the front part of Jefferson is really narrow, and the part where you're at is most of your residents park in those locations. I don't want to take up a spot. Sure. So I will get with you, and we'll do that. We did park one at Sheets, but because of the construction there, we moved it across the street to CVS. We want that entrance into town to be a police officer right there, and then, of course, this entrance, and then we have one at BB&T. So,
and you could also dispel the rumor that it's not always a ghost car.
Right, and that's I wanted to talk about that. Last week, Officer Jason Davis, whose car sits at QBE, he got in the car when he came in on his off time for Grant and ended up writing 3 tickets in the first 45 minutes of him sitting there because people got used to there not being anyone in the car.
The ghost came alive.
And so we'll continue to do that as well. Officer O'Neill is going to come up and give you a quick update on the car show, which is coming up in 2 weeks.
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor. Car show's coming along. We're less than 2 weeks out. So far, we have 6 different car clubs that are actually going to be in attendance. The Rotary Club of Bailey Crossroads will also be out. They're auctioning off and raffling a 66 convertible Mustang. They're going to bring that on site. Besides cookies and cream, we're also going to have live music. There'll be henna tattoos, face paint for the kids. Smoking Sean's barbecue truck will be there. Right now, we have confirmed between 65 and 72 cars. We have about 160 that have actually shown interest. So this is either going to be isolated to the parking lot, or we could very easily go into the grass. So we have a lot of people coming in to volunteer. My family's all going to be there. Please, if you guys are free, May 13th, please come out. Give us a hand. We're just going to organize cars, move things around. We have some presentations and so forth that we're going to do at the beginning, some awards at the end. Should be a good day.
great.
Everybody do the sun dance for us, too. Keep the
That's
light
right.
on.
Can you just share the hours?
Hours are from 2 to 6 on May 13th.
What's the cost to put your car
Cost of the raffle?
Each car entry is going to be $10. All the proceeds are going to go to the Benevolent Association through Prince William County Fallen and Support Group. Those funds are going to be the same funds that helped Chris Young's family and Ashley Gwendon's family. They go into a reserve fund. They're not just used for fallen officers, they're also used for wounded officers and so forth.
And the cost of the raffle, do you know?
You'd have to ask the Rotary Club. They're bringing their own staff for that.
Oh, great.
So-
Okay. Good deal.
Good job.
Questions for Officer O'Neill? Oh, good. We look forward to this day. Great.
I'd like to commend Corey for all his hard work. He's worked on his off days at this. A lot of things that were done were donated by his family or friends of his family. So he's done a great job. Also, all the police officers will be here that day, and all of them have decided to donate their time that day. We won't have to pay them for that. Like I like to do on each meeting, I like to go over a couple officer highlights, and then I'll sit down. Your first one is the bust that Jake Davis did with all the weed. I just want to say on Facebook, it exploded. 53,000 people have reacted to that and liked it. So it really made an impact. We had a lot of engaging conversation by citizens on that. Officer O'Neill last month did a dangerous wanted poster of someone that was non-law enforcement friendly and put it out through the community. I also put it out on Facebook as well. And because of that, because of his actions, that suspect was arrested outside of our was outside the county? Or was it still in Loudoun County? But that was through the efforts of Officer O'Neill putting it out there for everyone to know. During Telecommunications Week, which is where we honor our dispatchers, Sergeant Shaver took cupcakes from Cupcake Heaven in Haymarket up to the dispatchers. We got a big thank you from them, and also Prince William Police Department posted on their Facebook page their appreciation for us doing that. So I appreciate him reaching out to them. And then the last thing, which I just added, was just yesterday. Yesterday or Saturday? Just yesterday, Corey helped out on a bike rodeo that was going on up at Bull Run. Bull Run? Is that where it was at? And during the event, they had one of the juveniles, like a 3-year-old girl, went missing, and Corey was instrumental on his bike, riding the paths around there to find the little girl. So your bike officers are working very hard. You'll see them a whole lot more in the summer, and we already have one very good success for that, finding a missing child on the bike, and the mother was very appreciative. So, I just like to highlight some of the things our officers do, and I want you guys to know that. Also, Jason Davis is out now for 2 weeks. His wife is being induced, I believe, tomorrow morning, so he'll be welcoming a new little girl in the morning. So I just want you guys to know and to reach out to him if you can. He'll be a new daddy for the second time, tomorrow morning. So, are there any questions?
Questions? We'll start from the right here.
Are you finding that kids and teenagers and that are approaching the officers more on the bicycles than anything else?
Absolutely.
I would think that might be the case. I was hoping that we've had some progress so far in that. The second thing is, I do read the email you send out each day on what has happened in the last 24 hours or so. And you mentioned it earlier. I'm very surprised at the number of buildings that are unlocked in this town that you're finding. But now that we have this program going on, I know the officers are locking them up and leaving cards and letting people know about it. So I think that's a very valuable thing for our citizens, and particularly in this case our businesses, that something that you don't have in any other jurisdiction.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Vice Mayor?
Chief, quick question. Mr. O'Neill, you said that you were doing that bike program yesterday. Was there any county officers there with you? Was there any county officers there with you?
Yesterday, no, sir.
No, sir. When that child went missing, I'm sure you put a call in. What was the response time till a county unit was on site?
We actually were able to locate the child and get it back to its mother before county was able to arrive on scene.
What was the rough time between those two?
10, 12 minutes.
10, 12 minutes? So it's almost 10, 12 minutes before a county officer was on site. Thank you, sir. Chief Lance, a citizen earlier brought up the part about the police department and possibly putting that over to the county. What is our average response time within town to our town residents?
We like to be anywhere in this town in under 5 minutes, 5 minutes or less. If we're not, that's because we're tied up on another call.
Do you know what the county's average response time is out here in the Western?
I don't.
I wouldn't expect you to. I was just wondering if you know off the top of your head. I also see here that out-of-town calls for service, we had 37 this month, which is almost one per day. When I see that, it means to me that the county might be spread thin a little bit on this western side. And for when we put in a call yesterday at Bull Run, it was almost 10 to 12 minutes before we located the child, but a county officer was not on site. In that aspect, I would assume that a sergeant or captain lieutenant from Prince William County would end up reaching out to us to see if we could get to Bull Run faster. Would that be true?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Also, with the decoy cars, how many times do we normally put an officer in those decoy cars?
We just started that this past week.
Put an officer in them?
Yes, sir.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to see if we could grab the data from those radar speed limit signs that enter town on that eastern to western side. Because what my bet is when those decoy cars are there, those numbers are a lot lower than when those decoy cars are not there. Because in my personal opinion, and just what I've been able to notice, I feel like they probably hit about 35, 40 coming into Blight, and then that's when they actually start to decrease their speed. But when they do have those cars there, they're most likely to slow down beforehand. Now, obviously, the point is brought up that, well, when someone knows that they're there multiple times, they come in hot. But with that being proven, when Mr. Davis was posted up in that unit the other day, he was able to catch some high rates of speed, most likely.
Yes, sir, 20 miles or more.
Excellent. So it seems like those decoy cars are working, and it also seems like we do a lot for the county on this western side, and I would hate to see the police department be dissolved for that purpose of trying to save some money, because I believe that we do put an awesome effort into our town citizens as well as to the surrounding areas within this probably 5-10 mile radius. No further questions, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
I'm glad you raised those points because it seems to me that the county needs to be doing a much better job of providing personnel in Western Prince William. So I'm glad our officers were there. They did a great job of helping, and we're always happy to help the county, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And that gets to my point when we were talking about the budget at the one meeting I was at, that we really have to take a hard look at value for dollar here and what we pay out to the county and what we're getting back. So to that point, I think it was an excellent point. The other thing is I'm glad Councilmember Leak raised the issue of the speed sign, because I was going to ask you the same question. The last time we spoke, I asked if you were able to download the data to see where we are. And for example, at 10:56 a.m. yesterday morning, I was out walking, and it was a slate blue, I think a Sienna late model minivan. I think they were doing about 52 to 53 miles per hour. I'd like to check to see, because I used to operate without a speedometer when I was doing my locomotive engineer days. A very high rate of speed, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I'm wondering if you could download that. And I don't think, to support Connor's point here, I don't think there was a ghost vehicle out there at the time. And I've noticed anecdotally, just by observation, that when the car is there, they do tend to slow down. Some people get, they know that it's a vehicle that's empty, or at least they take the risk that it's empty after a day or so.
Yeah.
So we do have some people that want to kind of get around the system or game the system.
And I would argue the fact that even if they're half effective out there, they're still 100% more effective than they are sitting here in the town lot. And I did go out 2 weeks ago in order to pull the sign data to have it for you for this council meeting. However, there's something going on between the current computer that we have. It will not read the Bluetooth there, so I called the company. They said they were going to walk through some procedures and get back with me. There's a problem connecting to it. So I'm working on that now.
Okay. And I think the one coming eastbound wasn't working yesterday either. So I don't know if it's just the radar itself. I'm not sure. Is it LiDAR, whatever the heck it is? Or maybe there's some kind of interference. But coming eastbound, it didn't work yesterday also, around noontime. Now, I don't know if there's a battery issue or what's...
No, it's...
I know it's direct connected, but I think there's also a battery in there, if I remember.
Yeah, but it's fed by the solar panel, so I would assume there was enough sunlight to keep it operating. But the solar panel is also where the Bluetooth device is located just below that, in order to feed it to the computer. So maybe the whole thing is having a little bit of issue.
And relative to some of the issues related to Carolina Road, Jefferson, we had talked about this a while back, maybe of installing a couple of those signs there as well, coming into town in both directions.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if we have the funds available or whether we can generate the funds to do something like
Maybe
that.
get a grant or something? Are there any grants out there?
Yeah, I think we put them in our CIP, and we ended up spending that. As far as reimbursed, I'm not sure if we got any type of grant reimbursement for it. Yep.
This year, the only grant reimbursement were the cameras.
Right, the cameras,
This
body
fiscal
cameras.
year.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be something we can look into.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would think so, because effectively it would capture the crossroad.
Absolutely.
All four entrances into town.
Right.
And then if somebody is caught speeding, well, how do you not see it? I mean, even with the static signs, they should know better. But this is the added value of having the...
So you want me to look into the pricing of two more and then possible ways to pay for them?
Well, we'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Moving along.
We, as part of the Jefferson Street thing, we had a traffic study done. I can get you those results. Whereas the average speed was between 25 and 30, they did clock one car down Jefferson Street, the bad part of Jefferson Street, bad section, 55. And so my only hope is that he suffered suspension damage when he hit the speed hump. So it's tough. If you can position a car there, I think you're going to get a big bang for your buck.
Sure, yeah. My intent is to get with Miss Amy after this and figure out a spot where we can maybe move the BB&T car down there. The gray car may be a good spot since the transmission has gone out of that now. It is done.
You could put a mannequin in.
So, yeah. Put a mannequin.
Yeah.
Could you expound on that a bit for me, Chief? Can I inject?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, I meant to go over that in my thing. I think I told you the transmission in the gray vehicle was going to go out. It has gone out. So, enough to where you can't drive it.
So these vehicles aren't sitting there when they could be doing other things. These vehicles are inoperable, and you're using what you have, the resources that you have.
Yes, sir. Every vehicle that you see sitting out here on Washington Street is a vehicle that is in use, just an officer is off that day and they parked it there, rather than sitting in front of Town Hall.
But there's also the aspect that some of these vehicles, you keep operating them, it's going to cost us more in repairs.
Yes, the gray car, we would have to put an entire transmission in, and it's shot.
Okay. So instead of sitting here at the town hall,
Yes, sir.
It's working.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just one more point. Is it possible, and I know you do have the stats for this, include in the list here the number of town business that you check? And I don't mean to add it there to justify what the police department is doing. There's no doubt that in the last 2.5 years, our police department has made a U-turn. Our department, the morale of our officers, everything concerning our police department has improved. Our police department sells our town. And just to add here on your list the number of town businesses that you check.
I can do that. I know that we require that they do 5 business cards. They can do more, but they have to do at least 5 business cards a night. But I'm telling the officers they need to check as many businesses as they can every single night, and they do. So
Yeah.
that number is gonna be really high.
Yes, and I'm not saying it again. It's not to justify what the police department is doing. No doubt. I don't think there's a citizen that could ever say the police department hasn't changed
Yes,
and
sir.
has improved in the last 2.5 years.
And I want to be clear, the business checks that you see on these rundowns every day, They're just the businesses that received a card. So I don't want you to think they're the only businesses being checked. They check every business that they can at night, and you could probably check every business in this town each night. But I'm just giving you the stats on the cards that were left.
Good job.
Great. Councilwoman Edwards.
I just want to expound on what Councilman Morris said about the turnaround in the police department. And I would also like to share with everybody, there is, and I don't know if people know this, you might know it or not, there's a really high number of law enforcement officers that live within our town limits from other jurisdictions, and there's a reason why they live here. And it's because they see the value in having that police presence of the town police department, that they find value in that for their families when they are not home. So I just would like to put that out there and share that with everybody, because that says a lot about this town and the safety and the comfort that's in this town. So I'd like to say thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yep. Other questions for our chief? All right, sir, we're good, but don't leave. You got some other work ahead of you here. Okay, our next item, Denise Andrews, Business Community. And we're on page 163 of our report here.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to give you some updates. So on Saturday, April 22nd, we had our Earth Day event, and not even the rain could keep people from coming out to that event. I want to thank Councilwoman Edwards, Andrew from Battlefield High School, the senior class from Battlefield High School, and the National Honor Society from Battlefield High School. They really did a great job cleaning up the park area. I want to thank council as well, all the council members, all boards and commissions that were there to help out as well on that Saturday. It still was a great event. We got lots of pictures posted on our Facebook as well as our website detailing that event. The Town Business Roundtable, that was on April 19th at VCA Healthy Paws. I want to thank them for hosting it. Cheryl Mayhew, who runs the center, I want to thank her as well. Our next Business Roundtable is going to be on Wednesday, July 19th at 8:30 a.m. at Tobaccology. So Brett Fry will be hosting that one. On Thursday, May 4th, myself along with Danielle Kieski will be attending the Regency Women's Club. I will be a guest speaker at that event. I will be the guest speaker at that event. And basically what I will be discussing is kind of piggybacking off of the mayor's article in the Haymarket Lifestyle, where the town is and where the town is going. So that'll be a 30-minute presentation on Thursday, May 4th at the Regency Clubhouse in Dominion Valley. On average, it's about 150 women that attend that particular event once a month. Also, some upcoming updates. I just want to make a quick change. The museum will be doing their grand reopening actually on June 10th. It's going to coincide with the health and fitness. This will give the museum volunteers and staff an opportunity to work with the new college students that will be coming on board for the summer. So that will be the big kickoff for that as well. The health and fitness applications are online. We have about a half dozen, no, actually we have a dozen now of applications for that particular event. So we're in full swing of promoting that event on Saturday, June 10th, and that will be held right here outside on the town green lawn. So far, we have nearly $20,000 collected in sponsorship funds for the 2017 annual town events. I'm still in talks with several larger businesses for that title sponsorship, so I'm still working on that as well. And for the new website, we continue to send information to the company that is working on the website, content, information, pictures, and all that is still being collected for the launch, which will probably be late summer, early fall. Any questions from council?
Vice Mayor.
Sorry. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm writing a note.
Ms. Andrews, I apologize. I missed the date on the next roundtable. You said July 19th?
Yes, Wednesday, July 19th, and that will be a morning meeting.
Has a time been decided?
Yes, 8:30 to 9:30.
Lovely. Thank you, ma'am.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. For both Kimberly and for Denise, just a sense of any feedback at the roundtable
I'm sorry.
related to taxes or increased fees? I'm sure you did a little of a presentation on that, or you spoke to it.
I did. I didn't go through the whole presentation, but I just gave them a quick overview, and we did chat about particularly the increase in the B-poll taxes, since we had all businesses there. So we discussed that in more detail. And so some had some comments about that. We shared with them that they could come to the meeting on the 15th, and they could also give comments to me that I could relay to the council as well. We did talk about the rates in Prince William versus here and just the impact on them. And so it was a good conversation.
Any reaction, general reaction, or we'll wait till the 15th, or
I thought
emails?
Maybe Denise can comment as well, and Roberto was also attending the meeting. I thought it was mixed. I thought some folks understood why we were doing it and knew that eventually the rates would go up since they're so low. And then some asked questions about what that dollar value would be.
Okay, thank you.
And there was one other question. There was a question by one of the participants at that meeting regarding the town events. The question was, why do taxpayers pay for these events that are in the town? And I explained that the taxpayers do not pay for these events that are in the town. All the events are paid through sponsorship and vendor booth fees.
Excellent.
So no taxpayer pays for the events in town?
Except for Denise's time.
Right.
Yes.
Where we have her as her position.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Great. And actually, do we carry over? I mean, is there, I know we always run in the
Yes,
black.
we carry over funds.
Because a lot of the vendors like to sponsor for that year
Correct.
versus, yeah, okay. Further questions? Councilwoman Edwards.
I would just like to say thank you to you, Denise. Earth Day was a great event, and there were 65 kids from Battlefield High School who were there at the crack of dawn on a Saturday morning in the pouring down rain, who did not leave until every tire stop, the rebar was pounded into the ground. We said, it's raining, let's call this, and they were like, nope, we're not leaving.
They finished their job.
And they hope to make this an annual event for the senior class every year. They were really hard workers, all of them. And I would like to send some kind of letter, a message, something to the principal.
I'm working with Councilmember Cole on that.
Okay, awesome. That, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that was.
They were there early. Like,
Well,
they threw my day off because they were there an hour early.
Wow.
Ready to
Right.
work.
They were there.
Yeah, threw me off.
But thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Cole, Councilman Morse, any questions? All right, great. Yep, thank you. All right, our next report, Roberto, our treasurer's report. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I'll start off with the revenue on the events. You actually touch base on that?
Sure.
We have been seeing sponsorship money coming in. That's why on the line item on the statement of revenues and expenditure, 3165, you'll see a negative because we deferred some of that money for the following year. As the revenue is realized, we'll go ahead and move it over to the current budget. Aside from that, we've been working with the V-polls. We were receiving a lot of the taxes that are due for the business license renewals. This week, we'll be focusing on getting those few that have missed the cutoff date. Cutoff date was Sunday, so we have seen a few that I'm hoping we'll see today, tomorrow morning. And as far as the meeting, I would like to address the roundtable. When we did present the V-poll, like Kimberly said, it was a mixed feeling about it. But some of them even convey that they just wish they would have known that sooner, to have a better idea to plan out on their own end, which is understandable. But it was nothing very receptive to it, and they understand that they have the opportunity to come speak about it. So we're hoping to hear from them. For the next meeting on June 5th, I'll be working with the town manager on amendments to the current budget. I know that those are items we have to tackle and get to you guys by June 5th, a proposal, and see where we go from there.
Okay. All
We'd
right.
like to have a finance meeting to go over the changes with the finance committee.
Yeah. When can we schedule that?
We can have it on the standard meeting unless it doesn't work for you both, and we can talk offline. Okay.
I'd like to propose also before the May 15th public hearing, if we could meet an hour early and discuss the comments that we've heard tonight.
Sure. Like a work session?
Work session.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I think we heard some good things tonight, and I just want to
agree. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Well, I guess the question is, we're going to be hearing more comments on May 15th related to the budget or just to the?
Just to the tax.
Both.
To the, or both? Because if it is both, then.
They're related, so we might hear both.
Okay, so, I mean, we could meet before, I would think maybe after, then we collect all the data, sit down.
If we keep that as kind of the only agenda item, we should have time.
Because then you'll be doubling the hill, essentially. You might have some things, some really good ideas.
No, that's
Besides
fine. I just wanted to
besides
do it
the
before
zoning,
the 5th.
the zoning hearings at the 15th.
Before the
June.
5th, yeah, before June. I just want to sit down and talk about the comments that we've
Understood.
received.
I just want to make clear that on the 15th is when we decide on the percentage or the increase, if any. So if we're taking into account any questions, suggestions, comments that would impact that increase, we need to talk about it before we decide the increase on the 15th, or no increase.
Okay,
So it depends on what the goal is here.
Right.
Is it changing the budget? Potentially, that could be done later. But if it's going to impact the tax rate must be decided upon and fixed on the 15th.
Just the hearing.
Right,
It's
so
just
then-
the public hearing to receive
Well,
comment.
the public hearing, but
Correct.
we can't postpone it, and, because there's, 30 days notice?
Correct, so we have to have
Yeah,
a
so
public hearing on
it
the
has
15th
to
and hear the
happen in that.
comments.
So it's,
The only reason that we would have to re-advertise is if we raised it higher. It's not to go
Correct.
lower.
well, we can't re-advertise it.
Right.
Right, so, okay. I was under, I thought we were deciding on it that night. That's just the hearing.
No.
Sorry, never mind.
No, okay. Other questions? Any else for Roberto? All right, great, all right. Sure.
Were we going to decide on that meeting now, or are we going to come to that later, at the end of the meeting?
What's the feeling of the council?
I'd like to decide. Let's go ahead and get a date.
I just can't do before because I have a work commitment right up until.
We can keep the agenda to just the two public hearings on zoning ordinance map and tax rate, and then, we might have time afterwards, and a good hour and a half to discuss.
Do it.
I'm fine with that. That's a
Okay.
great idea.
I mean,
All right.
Okay?
So it's after the.
And if we need more time another night, after that, we can schedule another meeting.
Okay, continuation.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank
all
you.
right.
So,
Go ahead.
just, I don't want to feign ignorance, but I guess I am. So you continue to collect comments about the budget itself? I mean, I know it's a public hearing, but you'll continue to collect comments from the public, and that'll be factored into our discussions?
Correct,
after-
any I receive.
Okay, so if anybody wants to send you an email?
Absolutely.
Okay, fine. All right.
Okay. All right. Further questions? All right, moving on to the town manager's report. And page 169.
No, I should be back.
Good evening again, Mayor and Councilors. You know, in my meeting and highlights, I did mention quite a long summary on Dominion Virginia Power and the interim order that was issued on April 6th. I know we're going to be taking that up on a later agenda item, so I won't go through that whole overview. But I did want to include that in my report in case folks were interested in learning more. If you go online, I hyperlinked it to the actual order and then all the attachments, all the materials that they've received on that topic for the public to easily go and look up. I did include a legislative summary that Danielle Kievsky helped me prepare. There's a couple items that will impact the town. I guess the ones that I bring to your attention are going to be related to FOIA. The FOIA, Virginia FOIA Council is going to be developing an online public comment form. So when that's put together, we're going to include that on our website. Also, House Bill 1540 regarding noticing of meetings. What we've already started to do is place it in 3 different places. So here at Town Hall, online, and then also at a public place. The town's quite small, so it's been hard to find a public gathering spot with a bulletin board that we can place this notice. Chick-fil-A has been very kind enough to accept some of our notices. However, it can get a little unwieldy if we've got a lot of meetings going on. So down the road, we may need to talk about,
A message board or something, maybe
message
across
board,
from
yeah.
the
Food
museum?
Line doesn't have one, so, just throw that out there for down the
Well,
road.
either that or
Once
maybe
the park, yeah.
or the museum,
Someplace where
incorporate it.
people are going to be visiting often to be able to, read it.
Maybe the park is the place.
Yep.
So
yep.
I guess 2 and 3 aren't concurrent. You can't do that.
Excuse me?
Number 2 and number 3 aren't concurrent. You can't do both at one location.
Yeah, I don't think you can put up a bulletin board out in our parking lot and count that with the town hall posting. I think you got to be off location. So.
I don't know. Counselor, what do you think?
So I think it might make,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the intent is to have another opportunity for folks to learn about what we're doing and to be able to participate.
I mean, is there a definition that would guide us on this?
Sadly, no. There is not any definition. It's a new requirement this year, and so we're going to be feeling our way forward. We could ask for an advisory opinion from the FOIA Advisory Council. They might be putting together, they might already be planning to put together some guidelines for people because, it's a very different thing to do that in Fairfax County as opposed to, some of the smaller towns.
There was also some legislation on short-term rentals. We have included some very good wording in our proposed ordinance that I think is going to be a good kickstart to that legislation and to begin to just take a look at the short-term rentals that we have in our community and being able to incorporate those into our land use regulations. And the other thing I want to mention, one of our speakers in the public hearing did mention the B-pool tax in Senate Bill 836. Didn't go through, but it would have based B-pools on net income. And so, down the road we need to keep that in mind. That went through, like I said, it was talked about in legislation. It didn't go through, but down the road it's something to keep in mind for future funding. Those are the highlights on the legislative update. Other activities, we have leased out the space above the Copper Cricket. We're very excited to have 2 new tenants. Action Tank and Drain Service Incorporated is going to house their office facility there. And it's also a new business to the Haymarket area. They're going to get a business license. So we're excited to have them, as well as Body Mind Studio LLC. So they're a nice fit with our retail store back there at the Copper Cricket. We're making a few improvements there to brighten up the space. We are going to post for the full-time planner position in the next couple of weeks and get that going. We're going to be renewing our health insurance through Blue Cross and Blue Shield, as we've discussed previously. Roberto already mentioned some of the things that we're working on with the budget amendment. We're just planning to move around some items within departments. We're not asking to allocate any additional funds. It's just realignment of funds. And we also mailed out at the end of April to property owners a one-page overview of the proposed budget that I hope you all received in your mailbox. We hope to continue something like that in the future if we get feedback that was worthwhile piece, just to give our residents and businesses some information. So we got that out there. Again, if they got it over the weekend, there's still an opportunity to participate on the 15th to come out and share your comments.
Did that go to businesses, did you say, as well, or just
We sent it out to our B-Poll mailing list as well as our residents that we had on file.
It was like
property tax.
700 and some.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yep. Yep.
We want to thank those volunteers that stopped by to help us.
Yeah, the folders.
They're in this room. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We were able to meet the mail. Thank you.
Yep.
And that's my update for tonight. Do you have any questions?
Let's go around the table, see if we have any questions. Okay.
No, sir.
Nope. Councilman Morse, we're good? Great. Thank you, Kimberly.
good, thank you.
Yes. All right, our next item here, we'll go to our agenda items. Obviously, we've taken care of A. We go directly to number B, page 174 and 175. As we know that the SCC has spoken, or at least has put out their opinion, I guess. We quickly, I think, thought that in the past, when something like a major item like this, we would want to put out a resolution regarding this. Vice Mayor, we looked at this, hopefully put together, working with the attorney to make this resolution.
Yeah, I found out some more information. I'll pass along to Kimberly. I would recommend we also send it to the legislative committees in Richmond, who have jurisdiction oversight over the SCC and DVP. One of them is Terry Kilgore of the Commerce and Labor Committee in the Assembly. The other is Mr. Wagner, Frank Wagner, candidate for governor, Commerce and Labor Committee in the Senate. So I would recommend we add those in. I have the
Good forward that.
information.
Yeah. I know we were working on this when this came
Right.
out.
The only other question I had, we were bandying about with the counselor, support of Somerset HOA in their motion to the SCC to reconsider. What do you think? Should we include that or not include it?
Kind of go around the table here and see what we think. So just for clarification, this would be putting in writing that we support their position or their opposition. Thoughts on that?
I mean, we do, or as far as I understand it, we do support it, so I think we should state it.
Okay. Vice Mayor, did you have any thoughts either way on this?
Yeah, actually, I think we should support Somerset as one of the players. They are a respondent in the case, as is the coalition and I believe somebody else. And we're all basically, I think, singing off the same sheet of music. So I would recommend that we support their motion to reconsider.
Okay. Councilman Lee?
Support.
Councilman Edwards?
Support.
Yep. Okay. All right. So,
We need to change the wording.
yes.
Yeah, I guess.
Yep.
Sir.
So I would suggest that you have a now, therefore be it finally resolved that the town council supports the request by Somerset Valley?
Somerset
Crossing HOA to seek reconsideration of the State Corporation Commission's decision.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the clerk got that, didn't
Yeah. If not, we got it on the video, hopefully. So, okay.
Can you read this straight then?
Yeah, I guess so. Yep.
Can I read it?
Sure. Absolutely.
We need to make the motion first, or can I read it?
Read it first.
Read it first.
Yep.
Resolution 2017-03, a resolution of the Town of Haymarket regarding the Virginia State Corporation Commission's approval of an overhead transmission line that will permanently damage the town's historic character. Whereas for some time now, the Town Council of the Town of Haymarket, Town, has watched with growing alarm at the handling by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, SCC, of the application submitted by Virginia Electric and Power Company, Dominion Virginia Power, DVT, case number PUE-2015-00107, the application, regarding proposed electric facilities for a 115,000-volt transmission line conversion a new Haymarket 230,000-volt double-circuit transmission line, and a new 230 to 34,500-volt Haymarket substation, the Haymarket project. And whereas the town previously expressed opposition to the Haymarket project because it does not serve a public need, but instead serves the need of a single DVP customer, also known as DVP's favored customer. And whereas the SCC admits that the Haymarket project does not serve an immediate public need and instead is needed to provide service to DVP's favored customer. And whereas the CCC claims that the Haymarket project will permit, the CCC claims that the Haymarket project SCC will permit DVP to support overall growth in the area, but the area in question is unlikely to be developed with sufficient intensity to require upgraded transmission lines. And whereas the SCC has moved to approve the Haymarket project along the Railroad and Carver Road route, or as an alternative along the Carver Road route, which will have transmission towers looming over the town, thereby damaging the town's historic and attractive character, even though a partially underground route was available that would have required DVP's favored customer rather than the town and its citizens to bear the impacts of the Haymarket project. And whereas the insult of the transmission line route approval comes on the heels of the injury done to the town by DVP's double stacking of distribution lines along Washington Street, which multiplied the number of overhead lines while increasing the height of the power poles, all for the ostensible purpose of future growth, but in reality driven by an immediate need for a redundant circuit for DVP's favored customer. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Town of Haymarket, meeting in regular session this first day of May 2017, that the Council hereby declares that the SCC approval of the Railroad and Carver Road route and the alternative Carver Road route are unacceptable, contrary to the public interest, and contrary to the law because the SCC failed to give sufficient weight to scenic assets, historic districts, and the environment. And be it further resolved that the Council of the Town of Haymarket respectfully requests DVP's favored customer to come forward and agree to bear the cost of undergrounding the transmission line instead of damaging the town's historic and attractive character with unnecessary and unsightly transmission lines, by order of the Council, done this first day of May 2017.
Great. So we have a draft motion on page 174. Vice Mayor?
Have to add that last final.
Yeah, the paragraph on, now be it finally resolved that I said earlier would go at the end.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Who has that?
So we will have it.
Yeah, that'll be.
She'll be adding it in.
With the
there.
added statement.
Right. I'll make that sure it's clarified in the motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2017-03, a resolution of the Town of Haymarket regarding the Virginia State Corporation Commission's approval of an overhead transmission line that will permanently damage the town's historic character, and forward this resolution to the Virginia State Corporation Commission, Dominion Virginia Power, the Prince William County Board of Supervisors, State Senator Richard Black, Delegate Robert Marshall, U.S. Senator Mark Warner, U.S. Senator Tim Kaine, and U.S. Representative Barbara Comstock, along with the two names that Vice Mayor Passanello stated earlier.
The chairs of the Commerce and Labor Committees for
Yes.
Senate and Delegate.
Yes.
Everett.
Second.
And with the revision.
Right. Council's point. Okay. And second motion. All right. So we know what we're voting on.
Yeah.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Great. So we'll get that drafted up. I'd like to get it signed first thing tomorrow morning and put it out there. Great. Okay. Moving along. Our item number C, discussion on Town Code 30-50. The open storage, we asked the chief to give us some information, and so he did.
Good evening again. So you have a total of 45 vehicles, with the majority of it being in that one area, as you can see by the memo you have. So this is the information that we have to date. it grows and shrinks as people get their cars fixed or more go down. So on the code, you now have completed Section A, which is the collecting the data. So now what needs to happen is we need to give notice to these vehicles. In order to do that, I guess a memo from council or
Directive, probably? Just a
directive or something like that needs to be done and printed out and given and given to them. Now, if you want the police department to be the agents of giving that out, we will do that. If you have us do that, we can then explain the code to them as they have questions. But that's up to you, whether you want to do it that way or you want to send it certified mail or however. Once the notices are out, then that's when your 60-day clock starts. And I would suspect that a lot of these would be cleared up just by people knowing that it needs to be cleared up once we have a conversation with them. But that's what you have. Much less than what I thought. But again, you see the majority of them are in the one area that may or may not.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Question, Chief. The list on the residential properties looks like it gave reasons why the cars were considered to be inoperable, but I didn't see reasons listed for the ones that were associated with the different businesses. Are they all dead tags, or what is the basis for that?
It's a variety of things, but that is a concentrated area that we would have to go to the business and ask, why is this car down? Why is that car down? Why is that car down? And as you can see, it's a lot. We were just giving you the data on that now, but that's probably the business where we'll have the most pushback from.
Yeah.
Our businesses.
And so just to clarify too, besides having an area in our town charter that lists about registration of motor vehicles requiring every owner, we also have, I guess, there's state laws and our local ordinance that requires people to have these vehicles in good operating order. So I think I think we might have just go ahead, Steve.
I see the point of residential areas, but if the vehicle's at a auto repair shop, does that not change the dynamic?
Go ahead.
I believe you can require the people that are storing their vehicles at an auto repair shop or an auto dealership to have them screened so that they're not visible from the public, because if you have a bunch of inoperable motor vehicles that are visible to the public, it just starts to look like a junkyard. In fact, it is a junkyard. So the distinction there would be what is screened, or either screened or put inside a building. Then it's fine. But if they're outside in the public,
Well, this is a 60-day process, so typically when I take my car in to get repaired, I don't leave it more than a week.
Exactly.
These vehicles are not that case, but I'll let the chief explain.
Yeah, I just want to clear that up. These vehicles weren't vehicles that were there to be worked on by customers. These were vehicles that the shop has taken possession of or has stored or had been there for an extended period of time. And I mean like up on blocks, no tags at all.
Okay. Would it be fair to say leaking fluids,
Yes.
oil, antifreeze, all
Right.
that stuff? I mean, this is like...
And when we were looking at the vehicles, we only looked at the vehicles that didn't meet the criteria. There was 3 things in the code that says an automobile dealer, a salvage dealer, or a scrap processor. And these 3 businesses, or two businesses here, they don't meet that criteria.
Right.
Can I ask a question? It's clear that there is no operating junkyard in this town?
Great. That's great. Yep. Yeah, so, go ahead. We'll go to the side.
I just wanted to expound first and foremost for what the town attorney said concerning the vehicles. If there's missing information on this, what if these businesses are served with this notice? What if we have the wrong addressee? Does that affect our 60-day?
I would say that if you as council want to move forward with this, while you're drafting what you need to draft, we can do more research with these 3 businesses specifically about what cars are what. I just wanted to give you an overview of the things that are
obviously.
Okay, so this list is not yet complete because
From what we have now, these vehicles actually belong to these business owners through whichever way it is. They're basically being stored as junk on the property.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence too, because we could also insert if it's a dead tag.
Yeah,
We
well,
could also
that's the
indicate-
problem. None of these vehicles had tags on them.
But should it be indicated on it that there's no tag, just the same way how we indicated for the residential
Sure.
areas?
Every vehicle on that second page, no tags. And
Because-
I can update the list to say no tags.
Because that
We
is
were
a-
unable to find any owners.
If I was the business owner and I'm in delinquency here, I would want to, if I see that, I know there's research being done by our town police and town staff.
He definitely knows, the business owners know that they
Fine.
came out, and we actually explained to the business owners what we were doing on their property while we were doing it. So he knows we're looking at them, or they know.
And then on the other point, the town attorney mentioned about being visible by the road. Is it being visible from a VDOT maintained road? And if so, are these vehicles visible from a VDOT maintained road?
VDOT maintains all of them.
No, but there's parochial roads. There are gravel roads that leads to some of these properties. So, we have to be clear.
I meant any public road, any way that's open to the public.
But is it public or is it private? Because you're talking about a screen. I'm just trying to maybe play the devil's advocate in making sure that the terminologies that we use, we're able to defend our actions, and we don't go the route of throwing this out there and implementing it, not crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
And I'm sorry, I wasn't 100% clear on that. What I was saying was that you have a worse situation if it's visible from the public road. That's not actually an element of the requirement of what we have to prove. We don't have to prove that it's visible from a public right of way. I was just suggesting that those were worse than others.
And speaking just from one seat on the council, have we approached these business owners to let them know that this is coming?
We did with the chief.
No, they approached us.
No.
We didn't approach them.
Yeah, well, when we went to each business, before we walked the lot, we spoke with the business owner, explained what we were doing. Now, I wouldn't consider that as notice if I were you. We would still need to do that again if you needed to move forward with some kind of paperwork in our hand.
But that's what I'm asking, isn't it the better practice to approach, let's say we have three groups here, approach them from the council to say, these are the codes and this is the steps that we're about to take concerning your property. I think there is this, it could be misunderstood that we're targeting these individuals, and I would not want to be a part of a council that does that. So why don't we, as a council, send an email or a letter from our town to these businesses to tell them, according to the code, you're in violation for whatever it is.
Right now, and that is exactly what Part B of this would be, is sending them a notice.
Right.
That they're in violation.
No, I'm thinking you're reading my mind here. I would rather talk with them first before we hit them with any letters.
Well, I think we did. We actually went to them and asked them permission. We explained to them that we do have an ordinance that we have.
I understand that.
Right.
I would like to talk with them first and see what the impact to them is.
Perfect. Okay,
You know what I'm
everybody
saying?
will get a chance to talk here, so, okay.
Okay.
Not just as a police officer, not sending the police chief or the law enforcement officer there to talk to them. I'm talking an official correspondence from the town of Haymarket to these businesses.
Okay.
Can I? All right, you finished with yours, comments, okay. Wait a minute, Councilman Cole, any further?
I would just, again, I think we're the type of town, and we're small enough in government that we could, one of us, if we wanted to, or the town manager, could go and talk with them first and say, we're trying to take care of dead cars in town. You have a lot here, but you are a repair shop. How is this going to impact you? Do you even know where you would take them? Do you use them as parts cars? I mean, just give them a chance to talk about it before we hit them with this, you're out of reg, and we're going to make you move these things, and you better move them in 60 days, or we're going to do something else. I don't want to do that.
Wait a minute, hold on, okay, all right.
Okay.
Councilwoman Edwards, first yours, and then I'll go to Kimberly, then we'll go to the other side.
Okay.
First of all, the onus is not on us, it's on the business owner to abide by what their business is. It's called voluntary compliance with the guidelines and the laws. The onus is on them. And I would question, since he's been there, how many of those cars have disappeared or been brought up to? If do you see what I'm saying?
No.
Like, when did you visit these businesses, Chief?
4/18.
So over 2 weeks ago. So if we were to go back today, how many of those cars have been either tagged legally or removed from the property, knowing that we have spoken to these businesses and in good faith have they tried to bring?
Spoken to them.
He just said before they went into the business
That's
and
what I'm
said.
saying. Instead of sending our law enforcement officer there, why is it not something official from the town instead of sending a police
He's a
officer?
representative of the town.
Yes, but he's there carrying out instructions and directives from the council.
Correct, to get the inventory, which we've got. Let Councilwoman Edwards finish. Go ahead.
I just don't understand. He's a representative of the town. He's hired to do these things. These people are breaking they're going against our codes and what their businesses are. So I just don't understand.
Why the thing, okay. Ms. Murray, you had a comment?
I was just going to add, it's up to staff to enforce the policies that are set forth by the town and the town council. So it's most appropriate for town staff to implement these policies and enforce the code. It's not appropriate for council to be approaching these landowners about these issues.
Okay.
The police chief has gone onto their property, has talked to them, has informed them about the town code, educated them about it, and has given them a heads up basically about it. So it's now up to us to enforce the town code and implement that policy, which is to send the enforcement letters.
Okay. Over on this side, Councilman Lee.
Mayor, thank you. I concur with Ms. Edwards. If I was not mistaken, at our last council meeting, we all gave Chief the directive to go and start this inventory. And with that being said, he did his due diligence before entering a property to speak with the property owner before you walk those, that being a business owner, and spoke with them in that regards. I believe the next step then would be to go and hit item B, which is the 60-day notice. At that point, if you're out of compliance, you're out of compliance, and at that time, we will give you the 60-day notice to come into compliance. I think a 60-day notice is ample amount of time for this situation, and I support what Ms. Edwards said.
Vice Mayor.
Is it getting warm in here? Is the AC up? Okay. We're following the process. You follow the directive. You spoke with the folks at the businesses. They understand what the policy is. I mean, the hardest part is enforcing the ordinance. You know, it hasn't been enforced for how long?
45 years.
Okay. So that's usually the difficult period. So we're doing the courtesy, due diligence of speaking with them. You've done that. As far as I'm concerned, the officers, ambassadors of the town. And this is part of their responsibility. So with that, I think we should go forward and send the letters. And let's find out if they have made some adjustments to their fleet, or whatever you want to call it, their junkyard, and move forward with the process.
Mr. Aiken.
I agree. It's time to move forward. It is quite possible that one of these large auto junkyards that is illegal in our town may say that, well, 60 days is not enough. Well, I mean, we would consider a rebuttal from them to say, hey, I need 90 days or something for X, Y, and Z, and we could consider that and figure out what to do at that point. But we have to get started. I mean, whether it's been 4 years or 45 years, it's been too long. And we're following the rules, and it's time for the other people in town to follow the rules.
Okay. Oh, we got second comments, second round. All right, Councilman Morrison.
If I may,
Sure.
I am in total agreement with 60 days. I'm in total agreement with collecting the information. I'm in total agreement with enforcing the law. I'm in agreement with the chief of police going out and doing what he was directed. What I'm saying is, instead of sending an officer of the law in body armor and a sidearm, an official letter from the town should let them know the direction we're going. All I'm saying is that why is it that we don't take that approach? Follow up with everything else that we're on the table that we all agreed to. Follow up with the assessment, follow up with the letters, follow up with reinforcing everything else. But what I'm saying is, why should we take that approach, the hardcore approach, first and foremost, rather than sending something official from whether it be the town manager or the mayor that softens the blow and let them know, let the town residents and town businesses know that we're working with them instead of just sending. So I'm not opposed to anything that we've laid out. All I'm saying is that officially, if we're going to stand by and adhere to the words that are written on the wall behind us, we need to do it properly. And going after these businesses, I would hate for them to think it's something personal, but if it comes from an official from the town, send it out and let them know the direction that we're going.
Okay. Councilman Cole?
Right,
Here.
so, yes, I want to take a slightly different approach in the sense that before we hit them with a letter, I would think it'd be great if the mayor would show up and just say, hey, we've been talking about this, and it doesn't matter if they know it now or not. Yes, they know it now, but if you go to them personally and you just say, we really want to do this, we really want to clean up town, you will be expecting a letter. It's going to be probably somewhat cold, you know. But I'm just saying, these are long-term business people. These are people that have been in town longer than all of us, except maybe Dottie. But you know, we can work with them first, and then if they say, I'll wait for the letter, or I'm not going to do anything until you make me, or what, that's okay. And I'm saying we should still do that. But I don't see we hit them with a 60-day limit right now. Let them talk. We're a small town. We can do this. We're not Fairfax County. We're not.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this side? Back to Mr. Aiken.
So are we having a different process for the people who have been here for 40 years and the citizen on Jockey Club Lane that has one vehicle? Are we having a different process and just sending them a letter, or is the mayor visiting everyone?
You make a good point. And what about the person that lives beside the person on Jockey Club that has to look at or has looked at this inoperable vehicle that could have an engine or no engine?
And is it not the next part of the process to send the letter, the official letter, not the policeman showing up again, but the next part of the process, if I understand correctly, is to send the letter, which is what Councilmember Morris wants to do, is send an official letter.
No, that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm.
That's what I thought.
What I'm agreeing to. No.
Okay. I thought that's what you said, is not send the
I
police.
do want the letters to go out. I do want the official.
Just wants a more personal, personal approach.
Exactly.
Okay,
Just talk to the
understood.
businesses.
Okay, understood.
But what about the citizens?
And yes, and go to them. Yes, nothing is wrong with it, but follow the same
I
steps.
haven't heard that throughout all this. It's always been businesses.
Well, you've only got 1, 2, 3. I mean, again, if you want to deputize someone, I'll be happy to talk to the.
No, but
I
understand.
Let's kind of bring this back around. And no, I'm not going to take any audience questions. Martin?
I think that what you are talking about is about the implementation, which is really staff's role, and that's something that I think you can delegate to staff to have the appropriate soft touch in bringing this forward and then sending the letters as necessary. That's what I would recommend.
And just for the record, I would have no problem in going and talking to business owners as well as residents. But I would agree that the approach is, go ahead, Kimberly.
I just want to say you're enforcing town code. What is also part of town code is a zoning ordinance. And elected officials do not go out and talk to businesses when they have a zoning violation. This is the same thing. That it really is a staff function. We're happy if you want what I'm hearing, and we're approaching 3 hours, so I know things can get kind of go downhill as time goes on.
We don't know what you're saying.
I've been doing this for a while. We can send out a friendly letter. We know you've been visited by the chief or his staff. This is how we are going to be implementing this portion of the town code, which we haven't been over time. We're giving you a heads up and put in a period of time. If you don't comply voluntarily, we're going to send the official letter, and then the clock will start. That might be a compromise that keeps you folks out of it, keeps it for staff implementation. Would that be satisfactory?
That is exactly what I've been saying.
Let's go around the dice. Is that, I think we had a majority consensus that we were enforcing the code and the law, and just how that is going to be implemented. But
What time frame would be between these letters?
Exactly.
I am
5 days? I don't know.
I would be okay with up to 30 days.
No, 5 days. Just give them the letter.
But what,
It's a softening approach, Steve. We have
just-
gone down this road
I
where
know,
we,
I'm
where
just
we
saying,
upset people
if
in
you
our
give somebody
community.
5
here's what we can do, and we can have like a
65 days
Have we gotten
versus
any phone
60
calls
days.
since Chief went out there?
Not about phone calls, man. We've just
And also,
we need to
can I just see
respect-
a raise of hands of anyone that's actually been to these areas to look at the vehicles? Well, at least have
help
us
from
have-
one of the guys on
Okay,
my car.
that's fine.
I was not one of the cars.
Yep, not a problem.
Okay, well.
So I think what we
You're
could do.
excluded then.
What we
You
could do
can't exclude
is.
me. I have
what we-
one vote.
What we could do is make the directive, I think we would give like a 15-day, this will put us in line with a similar situation we have in town, that we gave 75 days to correct an ordinance. So we give a 15-day soft approach. At the end of the 15 days, then we go for an inspection. If there's not been any compliance at all, then we go for the 60 days of according to law. I think could we get a majority consensus on that?
Amen.
Okay.
Majority consensus,
Yeah,
looking like a shaking of the head.
It's
So
similar
there we
to
go.
what we're
So-
doing.
I say no. I think the letters need to go and be done with it.
I understand.
So,
We took
Wait a
that
minute,
approach.
one at a time.
My grass is-
We took
One at a time, please.
We took that approach to a property owner, did we not? That we negotiated with?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Public
So
record.
if it was good for that one property owner, why wouldn't it be okay in this
That's the reason why I'm going with that route.
I'm fine.
Okay. So we're looking at a majority consent, and I think I saw at least a majority consent, now unless we want to do a roll call vote on this, that, we'll go as directed. We're going to do a letter to go out to each of the people that are on this, and we'll have a 60-day letter, then we'll go out after the end of the 15 days. There's your directive, Chief. So be it. All right.
Micromanaging. We're treating people with respect. That's what we're doing.
All right. We can bring this back around. We have updates. Hey, ARB, Councilwoman Edwards. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, VRE, that's right.
I'm
Okay.
going to rush through this, nothing to report.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes. Yeah. ARB update, and of course, we put this we'll have this always on our agenda
That's
to be
fine.
able to.
We have council updates on the ARB
Yes.
agenda, so. I'm not going to discuss the impending issue that's out there. That's for another time with the appeal that was deferred till next month. I just feel like that's, unless you want me to, but I feel that's, okay. Dog's Day Out came back with a good plan. It was approved. So that process is moving forward. We have a house rehab on Madison Street, isn't it, Connor?
Yes.
A nice family that had bought an old rundown house, and they're working on it. So I feel like there's a lot of interest in people coming to add value back into our properties, and I think that's great. And we have a great team on the ARB who is willing to work with these applicants that come in and, get a resolution if there's differences. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Any questions on the ARB side? Great. Okay. Planning Commission.
Thank you,
Councilman
Mayor.
Lake.
Thank you, Mayor. The only update, sir, was that we forwarded the zoning ordinance to you, and we are actually holding another public hearing on our May 10th meeting And that would be the only update.
Okay. Questions for Councilman Leek for the Planning Commission?
Can I just,
Nope.
make an update?
Yes.
The Planning Commission is going to rehear the zoning ordinance at their May 10th meeting in addition to the zoning ordinance to add 4 additional statutory requirements in the advertisement. And then it will go to Town Council on the 15th.
Right. And there's the map, too, that,
Yes, the map is being forwarded to.
right. Okay, great.
The map.
The map.
Yes, the zoning map.
Okay. Proposed.
Proposed zoning map.
Wonderful. Okay. Any other things for that item? We're good? Great. Let's go down. Councilman time. Councilman Cole.
Very quickly, talking with the county and Pete Candland, they were out measuring for the speed table last week on Jefferson Street. So, and Amy caught them and went outside and chatted with them. By the end of the summer, we should have that speed table. Wow. So,
That's great.
Now the traffic study results are interesting. The number of vehicles was below threshold for below 6,000. Most of the cars were traveling between 25 and 30, so there's not really a speed problem. You did have the crazy ones that were going 55. But really, the traffic study did not support any more calming measures than what is already there. So the speed table is actually kind of a gift. And I think that's going to help, and it should help slow cars down and then actually help quiet them down a bit, too, because you're not going to be hitting boom, boom. You know, it'll be a up, down. The only thing I have left to do with Amy is we're still trying to just track down truck restrictions and through truck restrictions, and pretty much VDOT. I've talked to the truck restriction guy at VDOT, and he says about every 18 months or so, someone asks him about the truck restrictions in town, and he's not willing to do, he was very helpful, he's not willing to do much on it until I get the supervisor involved. So that'll probably be my next step, is I'll talk to Pete. That's all I've got.
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards.
I'm
All right. Councilman Aiken.
I'm good.
Councilman Morse. you're
Sure,
up.
just a few comments. Thank you. I think we do have a responsibility to listen to the sensible comments that were made concerning the budget. I think it goes without saying that whenever we're making strides to do major improvements and developments, there will be some growing pains, but with great opportunities for growth, it will involve some great opportunities for risk also. So I think, I don't want to speak on behalf of all the council members, but I think we're ready to move forward as a town. I think we've been stagnant for a while. I like the direction that we're going, but we still need to exercise due diligence in researching more and looking over the sensible comments that were made concerning the budget. I personally am excited for the direction that we're going. I like the direction that our staff and the responsibilities, the professionalism of our staff and our police department. And we have been able to make some good changes, and we just need to continue on the path that we've started 2.5 years ago. So, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I have a couple of comments. Thank you, Chris, for raising your points about the public hearing, because I thought I heard a lot of good stuff tonight, believe it or not. I heard some things that I think make sense and we should take a hard look at. I still maintain that we need to look at the expense side. I think there are things we can do. We can get creative to perhaps reduce the increases. I'll leave it for now until we have the next public hearing, because I'd like to hear what other folks have to say and then share my other thoughts when we meet after the meeting. But I think we can still sharpen our pencils and do a little bit better job. Kimberly, I want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sending it yesterday. You put in there the history of tax rates and revenues. I thought that was a critical slide, and I thank you for putting that in there, because that would have been one of the things I would recommend putting in there, that history, so people understand what the progression has been and where we are vis-a-vis inflation. One comment, the current reserve fund balance, I think it might be worthwhile also to show that 30% and what that equates to. So people understand that that's money that's dedicated as the reserve and not to be touched unless certain things happen.
Yeah, I'll add that to this.
Okay. And for now, I think I'll leave it at that, but I think it's important to understand that for some of us, we're both going to get a tax increase in the county and in the town. I know I am. And so I think we need to be a little bit more sensitive to that fact and try to do a little bit better job of looking at the expense side as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Councilman Lee.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I wanted to note one comment that Ms. Leonard had asked in regards to the zoning ordinance, if we looked at the old and the new. And I wanted to respond to Ms. Leonard, let her know that we did look at the old and the new. When we were looking through the zoning ordinance and the rewrite, we had a strike-through copy of what we were removing, as well as a colored copy of what we were adding in, to make sure that we did have both copies there to know what we were looking at. I also just want to use the word thank you. I don't think we say thank you enough, but Ms. Murray, thank you, and the staff for all that you do. You all are doing a phenomenal job, and I don't think we say thank you enough to you, as well as to Chief Lands and your officers. I want to say thank you to you as well. You all are doing an excellent job, and just keep up the hard work, and anything we can do to assist you to make your job easier, please let us know.
Great. Well, everybody stole my words. But yeah, the presentation I thought was phenomenal, to be able to show where we were, where we're going. We do have a vision. We know where we're heading. We all went out there on this trail and stood for something when we took oath for office here. There was a rebranding that needed to be done to this town, and I'm just glad that we've got a great council to work with, and now professional staff to carry on our vision and direct them. But yeah, that's it. So our next date is the 15th. Any final comments? None? Go Caps. There you go. I'll entertain a motion, that famous motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.